Time to paint. Alright. I feel like the pace of my stream, in terms of the amount of different art I make, is slowing down. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like with this piece, Kim, with this piece, I spent 2 days on it, kind of, one and a half, and I like it, kind of. I almost want to spend another day on it, and I might. I don't know if I will today. I might work on it a tiny bit, but I think what I sort of want to do is like paint it from a slightly different view, so slightly more top down. Um, because this like I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not loving this, but I do like it. I think it's cool, and I think there's some cool stuff happening. Or in a way, I could almost zoom in, but that I think there's just like a scale issue. This doesn't feel very tall. You know, if this is a house, then this is the size of that. Oops. Here, let me use my stylus instead of my mouse. So if this is a house, then this is a house, and this is like two houses. You could climb up this. That's weird to me. This feels like it wants to be a cliff, right? But if I make it a cliff, or a big cliff, you know, just for relative size scale, I think that would be better, right? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. Hello! Laexon, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Alright, let me turn on... I'm missing something. I'm missing the streamer bot thing, so I can't... If anyone says anything on YouTube, I can't see you yet. Actually, that's not true. I can, but... Let me load it up properly, though, so I can read chat efficiently without having to tab back and forth between two separate windows. You're good, how am I? I'm doing well. I'm a little tired. I sort of woke up and I feel like my brain hasn't started. But maybe, I don't know what that is. I think I'm good. I think that was just because I hadn't eaten, and then I did eat, and so now it's going to take a moment for me to, like, gain my energy back and, you know, sort of, like, get started with my day. I think that's what it's going to be. But anyway, let's see. StreamerBot. Let's boot it up, open up chat properly, and then I can get started. But yeah, I think I'm going to do, like, a part 2 to this. I might even change the season or something. Although that might be weird because we were talking so much about like a rainy location, like that's almost perpetually rainy. But maybe not change the season, but maybe like bring in some sun. I know technically we talked about that too. This is, you know, rainy spots can still have sunlight poke through clouds. So just because there's rain doesn't mean there's a lack of sun. Always. Although I think generally speaking, it kind of does sort of mean that there's clouds, and clouds can block the sun. So, yeah, generally, very rainy spots probably have less sunlight, but that's okay. Okay, streamer bot is open. I should be able to see all the chat. So yeah, I don't know exactly how I want to do this. I probably should just keep sketching, like. I don't know, I could draw it out. I don't know the best way to do it. I mean, I do know that with rainy spots, you always kind of have the same... Not the same, but like, you can always start the same. Rainy scenes or like cloudy scenes are one of the easiest things to paint. You just do like a lack of sunlight, atmospheric perspective kind of vibe, sort of light to dark. They're probably one of the easier painting arrangements. I think something like that. That way we're looking upward, right? Or not upward. We're looking downward. And then the big area would be like this. Or something. That way we're kind of looking down. But then that's not going to show the scale, right? Weird angles are like that are tough, because it doesn't show the scale. This is a problem that I've ran into before. Actually, funny enough, I just watched a video on this. It was a more of like a science and research channel on YouTube. So it didn't have anything to do with art, but it was they running into a problem with like generation models, like to generate like Minecraft landscapes, not like images, but like to if you have like a mountain, for example, and you want to, you know, paint it so you can see details on the mountain, it's very hard then to like also put a character in focus, because once you do that, then you can't see the mountain because it's too, you've zoomed in too far. But if you zoom out, then you can't actually see the person. So it's very hard to like paint a person on a mountain, right? And also show the scale of the mountain. Like that's a very, I remember once I was taking suggestions, and that was literally what someone suggested was paint two mountains and a bridge across, essentially. I mean, this is oversimplified, and then paint the person on the bridge and show them that it's connected between two mountains. Well, how are you gonna do that, right? How are you gonna paint two mountains and show the size of the mountains in the same scene, so to make you know that there's two of them, right? If you, in theory, you could place them on one mountain, and you could have the other mountain here, and you could have the bridge like that, right? And you could have the person here. But then you don't know how big this mountain is, right? The one that we're on. You have no idea, right? Because you can't see it. Right, so here's the mountain. And then there's a bridge, right? But you can't see how big this mountain is because you're on human scale. But if you zoom out, then you can see how big both the mountains are, but then you can't see, right? Like it's very the realistic scale isn't like it's anyway. And that's kind of what I'm running into with this a little bit, where like you have these big shapes that are interesting, right? And then there's also interesting like size relationships of, cliff, house, big thing. But if I zoom in any more, then you aren't going to be able to tell. It's kind of weird, right? Like if I zoom out, you can't even see the house. I don't know. It runs into kind of that same problem where like, what do you focus on? And this is where I almost think doing two separate images is useful. I mean, there's got to be better ways to do it, right? I don't know. It is a problem. I feel like it's a constant problem with environments is getting that scale right. It's probably one of the harder things with environments, actually. Like, just thinking out loud here. I mean, who am I to say how hard different things are with different, obviously different stuff's hard for different people, but, and based on skills and like, if you have one skill really figured out, then obviously it might be easy for you. But I feel like for me, I mean, I just think it's just always a problem, right? Because like the scale is so vast, right? You have the whole range of scale. It's not like on a human where, I mean, I guess you do kind of have that with a human, but I feel like at least with humans, you kind of, there's sort of natural focal points, right? Like the face, and like generally speaking, you're not gonna say like, I mean, I guess you could have like this person's shoe is really important. And so like, what do? Do you zoom in on the shoe? Well, then you can't see the person. If you over render the shoe, well, then you're like looking down at their feet, and then like, what do you do with the top of them? Like, but you can't see the top of them if you're zoomed out enough to see both the top and the shoe, and then how do you show, it's very weird. Like, if you put a whole character in a scene, right? I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you put a whole character in a scene, if you want to render their shoes, like, they're small, right? You can't have a shoe this size and still see the character, right? Unless you do crazy foreshortening, right? Like, here's a foot, and then character is, like, sitting down or something. This is totally how I draw characters. This is the knee. It's overlapping. Yeah, I don't know. Head. Anyway, I don't know what I'm doing there. But yeah, it probably is a thing that characters, artists, and people who do characters run into. But I feel like with environments, you have extreme scales, right? Like a shoe, you can still fit on in the same scene as a human. It's very hard to fit a mountain in a human, or a mountain in a shoe, right? And still know the scale of each. It's kind of like, I guess it's like that the scale models of like the solar system, right? Where you just don't have never seen a good representative scale of distances and sizes in the same thing, because then you're dealing with like, you know, a pixel in size, which is tiny, right? And it's hard to like understand. And then if it is a pixel in size, the next closest thing is like so far off your screen. I mean, I know there's been representations made where you just scroll, but even then, it's like after the 20th scroll into the black void, you don't really know how far you've gone, right? It's more of you're measuring in time and not in this. You know, it's very weird. It's very abstract. It's a hard thing to do. So definitely one of the struggles with environments is that showing that scale. Also, I had references of tree stumps. Let me pull some of those up, if I can. But yeah, hope everyone's doing well. Hope the day's going good. It is a Monday, I believe. Yep, it's Monday. I always have to double check. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to actually work on the same thing the whole time. I might just switch gears and just start painting whatever. Because it's not super exciting, admittedly. Like, I'm fully aware that a gray, dismal-looking scene with very little sunlight is probably not the most exciting thing to paint. But maybe it is. Maybe it's fun. I mean, it's fun for me to paint. Hey, Skittle, howdy. Howdy, howdy. I mean, in some way, I paint all of my scenes as gray, dismal scenes at the start, because that's just the way that I block in values, and then I add sunlight after, kind of, sort of. But I add lighting separate, right? I do the gray block in. I guess that's not always true. Sometimes I don't do that. Oh, what is that? Is that the hydrate? Thanks. My tea is too hot to drink. I cannot hydrate right now. I drank a bunch of water right before stream, though. Does that count? My tea is too hot. I do have tea. I can't. I'll burn myself. Actually, probably not. Maybe? I don't know. Pretty hot. But yeah, Skittle, how are you? How's your day going? Doing any... I haven't really been keeping up with what you've been doing art-wise. Have you finished anything lately? I feel like I've been really bad at popping in properly. And like most of my lurking is just that, lurking. Like I'm literally I'll end stream and I'll be in your stream and I'll literally stand up and just walk away. And then you're just on my screen, but not. I don't have, because like I'm wearing earphones, so I can't actually hear anything half the time, and so I feel bad. I know that feeling. I do so yeah. Because like that's always the first thing I do when I end stream. You know, is just like get up, go move. Wait, we were gonna add like a big thingy here. See, this doesn't work. Scale issue. Could add the little houses here. Okay, maybe I can drink my tea. Let's try. We'll attempt the tea drinking. Nope, too hot. Mostly been doodling along. You're trying to make an effort into post stuff on socials. And think, oh gosh, I've been so bad with socials. I haven't posted anything on socials in a while. Also, what do I want to do here? You know what we can do? You know what I can do? Okay, we can undo all of this. This is going to be a big noodly blob, but no one's going to know what I'm painting here. It's just going to be painting with black. Just dark shape. It's going to look like a complete disaster for a bit. That's okay, though. Actually, let's get this and put this on my PureRef file so I can see my own thing as a reference. Using my own painting as a reference for my painting. Brilliant. Ah, what's happening? We're getting raided. Commissar Skull. Charzia, hello. Hello, hello, raiders. How's it? How goes it? Commissar, welcome in. How are you? Hello. Cheva Pachinka. Cheva Pachinka, hello. Hey Joe, hey, how do you do? Hope you're doing well. I am doodling today, kind of, sort of. I wanted to work on this painting again, kind of, but I didn't really like the scale. I sort of want to do like a second version of it, where I change the perspective a little bit to be more like this, right? So like this thing is we're looking downward a bit, and then this is, yeah, this sort of elliptical shape changes instead of being flattened like a pancake, right? It's now we're looking down. Anyway, so I kind of want to change some stuff, and obviously that requires a repainting, but yeah, it's going well for me. I also want to paint scenes that are a little bit more sunny today, because we've been painting like gray and gloomy scenes, so that's the thing. But yeah, you were doing a community magma collaborative. Wait, what's the last word before I take out my compo? Nice. Do you want to share? I want to see it. Also, my glasses are super smudgy, so I have to take them off for a second while I wipe them down on my shirt. The joys of wearing glasses. With a diesel punk theme. Ooh. Diesel punk. I don't really know much what that... Oh, I kind of know what that is, because I'm seeing it. Ooh. Wait, this is collaborative. That's awesome. So normally when I think of Magma Studio and people collaborating, it's just a bunch of chaotic, unhinged stuff and inappropriate things that probably shouldn't be on stream, or else you might get banned. But no, this is super, like, cohesive. Is this really collaborative and done with... Okay, how many people are working on this? That's wild to me. This is the most cohesive Magma Studio collab I've ever seen. Like 5? Sorry, accidentally replied. Gotcha, no worries. Oh, you were waiting for me to ask for you to share? Yeah, you were ready. I like this. This is so cool. Yeah, this is awesome. Also, I appreciate the background, the perspective, and the depth. That's really well done. You have the nice foreground, and then you have the background with the simple line art to, like, imply the background. This honestly looks... Yeah, this is really, really well done. You can see the watermarks at the bottom. Oh, yeah. Well, that's super cool. Yeah, the signatures. Yeah, but that doesn't mean I know who did which. But that's fine. I don't need to know who did what. It's so cohesive that it looks like you were all very much on. What I really like is just from like a, and I know there's technically like for example the foreground is blocked in with values and then the background is left with lines. But that looks like an intentional choice that like one artist would make, right? Like I'm assuming the background was someone else because it's lines and then the foreground was not by that same person. But maybe it was. But like this thing back here, which is also in value, but it's super far away, also feels like it was like part of the line stuff because and like it was done with with atmospheric perspective in mind. Um, okay, the background and the huge thing were the same person. Gotcha. Yeah. So painting, knowing your like what you were painting and painting it in is like a lighter value is like already something that I feel like is so hard to get people to do. But then the rest of the things, because they're painted darker, they also just read as foreground. And so I don't know. It's just awesome. The flying bike and the busted tractor. I don't know if I see the busted tractor. Oh, is that this? I see the flying bike. But yeah, no, this is so cool. I love this. That kind of makes me want to do a Magma Studio thing one day. Although I have my reservations about doing Magma Studio on stream. But without some sort of like way to, I don't know. Magma Studio scares me, I'll be honest. The idea of live drawing with I mean I'm saying random people, but like unless it was with friends, like with other streamers, right? I could see like me, Skittle, Casey, other streamers, all the streamers that I rate or who have rated me. I could see like a streamer Magma Studio because I trust other streamers to like not violate stream terms of service kind of thing. I don't know if I trust random people who aren't who ooh, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying you guys are untrustworthy, but do I trust you? Can we trust him? I don't know. Uh yeah, that's you are brave. You are brave, Commissar Skull. If you assuming you open it up to the public, maybe you didn't. Maybe it was like trusted friends. I mean, I guess I could do like I'll draw a wiener. I know you. Somebody will. Somebody will just put wieners everywhere. It's inevitable. That's what I'm saying. How does that not happen? Open to the chat. You can't open it up to the public or else we'll all draw diesel punk mech all over the. That's what I'm afraid of, is the diesel punk mechs. That's. Yep. You know me. You can't have that. It always devolves into diesel punk mechs. Everyone could join? Man, I don't know how I would do that. You have faith? You have more faith than I do. I mean, look, and I'm like a very family-friendly stream, right? Like, or I try to be. Or maybe not very. I don't know. I think I'm pretty very family-friendly. Okay, what am I doing? I guess I'm trying to draw semi-complex forms in perspective. Kinda. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just moving color pixels around for a bit until I warm up. It'll be a bit. I feel like lately I've been taking longer to get into the groove. I don't know what it is about me. Maybe it's a bad, improper sleep. This could be water. Let's do that. Go water in here. No, I don't know what it is. I think it's probably I just didn't do enough. Like, I think I just woke up and then started streaming immediately, and I didn't really, this can go upward, I think. And then I didn't really give myself time to, like, wake up and sort of acclimate to being awake. Okay, so we have water in here, and it's flowing out. And so there's, like, this lip thing. And I'm drawing outside of this circle because it needs it. I don't know. Just sketching. But yeah, thank you so much for the raid, Commissar. I appreciate it. If you got a raid and run, feel free. And anyone else who's hanging out, who popped in, if you want to share any art, please do. I'd love to see what other people are working on. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to actually do this as a full thumbnail. I'm just kind of blobbing shapes. Very blobby. Just kind of trying to get a little bit of a different angle. Not much. Like, I don't want it to be a crazy different angle. But just enough so you can see the platforms a little bit better. Now this, though, isn't gonna feel right. It's still hard because, like, this is like a big edge, you know? But that's better. Like, maybe not better than the original, but it's something. I don't know. I think this is one of those things where sometimes, as long as I keep painting on it and I keep my pencil moving, stuff will sort of come into focus. It sometimes takes a while, especially certain views, I feel like. Now the scale feels funny, right? Now it feels like the distance between these two, like they're almost touching. And in this image, right? They look like there's a vast landscape between them, which isn't ideal. I should be able to. But we could do something like this, maybe, where there's a little bit of valley down here. Is that a thing? That's kind of a thing. Is it a good thing? I don't know. It's a thing. But yeah, just trying to reconfigure this a little bit. Also, maybe the shapes of these could be changed, right? Because, like, there's no reason they have to be. Right, like maybe I can put this into the scene. And then this one can go up here. So compositionally now, where I'm bringing these lines off the canvas, I like that. That's not bad. I think that's better. And then here, maybe we can show the scale. Maybe we can't see the house in this foreground one, but we can start to see them in this background one. I kind of like that. I mean, maybe we can see them down here, too, like this. No, that's probably too low. Rocks and rivers. This is rocks and rivers. Not rivers, but like waterfall. There's definitely going to have to be stuff over here. This definitely needs to have waterfall. This needs river. And lakes. Lakes and rivers, probably both. Again, I'm kind of just trying to speed through this because I don't feel like it needs to be super nice. But I do think this is better. Like, it's a different scale, but it shows this thing better. And I think that's neat because maybe it shows like material a little better. Maybe we do like a, I don't know, something like an old bark or material. I don't know. Can show the old wood in here. Kind of the fuzziness. Wait, this doesn't feel right, though. This feels like it would still need the dark side. Which I don't want to go too dark, because I do want it to be... that... Hold on, how do I do this? Turns out I don't know how to draw in perspective. I think like this could work. We can also up the value. I mean, probably a little, like, bluer, because we have that blue skyward-facing light. Right? All of this could be very blue. In fact, we could probably add in, like, a whole layer of atmosphere. Just to push things back. So there's this. Whoops, what did I do? I let go of my selection. Probably just push all of that back. Something like that, maybe? But yeah, this is... I think this scene isn't great, but it's... in some way, maybe it's only because again, maybe this is because I know what it is. And I think a lot of times when you know what something is, it reads better. Or to you, like, because you can tell what it is. And it doesn't have to read very well. But I think this one to me, well, minus all the other nonsense I drew on top, like, I just don't like that this is so flat. Like, it shows the shape pretty well, but it doesn't show... It's not, I don't know, it's just not interesting, I guess, to me. And so I kind of like a scene like this. And maybe, I don't know. Also, I think this shows the scale better in some ways, because I think I fixed some of the issues that I had before. old tree trunk shaped thing. And then, of course, back here, who knows what's back there? We can't see that far. It's too foggy. I don't know. I kind of like it. Okay, let's just do some doodles, though. Not related to this one. And obviously, the design of this, right? We had these designs here with the sort of these little ridge thingies. We could probably maintain some of that, so they're higher in the foreground. So we could probably do something like this, if we wanted. And then here, maybe there's some similar ones. Not quite sure how I wanted to set it up. I actually don't like this. I feel like this shape here isn't right. So that's okay. And then, yeah, little shapes down here. Could be houses or little buildings kind of off on the side. Starting to get the implication that they're down here. Maybe there's some breaking the silhouette here. I don't know how much, because I don't know how big they're going to be, but, you know, little city or something on the side. Little town with little islands and puddles and, you know. Okay. It's kind of chicken scratchy, but I think it's starting to get the vibe. Okay, next painting. Next little thumbnail. Thumbdoodle. Okay, maybe this one is gonna have more vibrant colors as I pick the gray. Nah, this one will be more vibrant. Let's get some neutrals, though, and then we're gonna slap in the bright yellows, just for fun. I don't know what I'm gonna paint, but I'm just making abstract shapes. And then let's put in some bright colors. I don't know. Why not? We'll see where it goes. Oh, this is a weird brush. How did I select this one? Oh, that was a mixing brush thingy that we were doing. Oh, let's play around with the jitter brushes today. That brush. There, play around with jitter. There, already bright. Maybe get some blues in there. But we don't want to go too vibrant here. I want to keep these colors pretty muted. Lots of grays. Again, don't know what I'm painting yet, but it will be a landscape, so I'm kind of thinking about, like, a horizon line. So, like, this shape here, which I can't really draw because I'm with a stupid brush. This shape here, like, I could this makes it look like it's the top surface of, like, a shape, right? So you could have, like, a square. This shape, for example, also looks like it's kind of a square in perspective, right? And so I'm kind of thinking whatever we paint will, because these kind of are in the same perspective, right? Like, see what I'm saying? Now the rest of them aren't, like this isn't, but even this could be, how do we go about that? Trying to make these, like, because this looks like a very top-down thing. So maybe there's some additional shapes here. Don't know what that shape is. Maybe there's some... Maybe this shape. Again, they don't have to be all in the exact same, like... They don't have to be pointing to the same spot, right? Because that's not how perspective works. You can have objects rotated. So, like, I could have an object here. And that could still work. right? So it could be like long and skinny that way. And as long as these lines converge to the same horizon line, and even if technically they wouldn't have to, but it could be, because it could still be tilted. But I'm thinking if these are still flat planes, we could do something like that. And so now this could turn into an environment. Don't know what environment. I mean, it's pretty basic. Yeah, don't know what it is, but it's fun to start like this. If anyone has any ideas, let me know. If anyone knows what I'm painting, tell me. And then I and then I'll confirm or deny it. Yes, please tell me what I'm painting, because I don't know yet. No, it kind of looks like it could be like the roofs of buildings or something. Some architecture, maybe. A cyberpunk highway racing scene. Is that what I'm painting? Hey, Drevzilla. Am I painting? Is that it? Anyone else confirm it? A cyberpunk highway racing scene. Oh my god. Would I want to do that? Wait, what's the scale here? Can we see the cars in this scene? I guess it doesn't have to be cars. It could be motorcycles. In fact, it probably would be motorcycles. I feel like cyberpunk people, I don't know. I feel like in like futuristic, they're smaller. They're better for highly dense populations. The yellow bits are the vehicles, but you were joking? No, that's good, though. It's fun to think about that. We just got raided by Commissar Skull, and it's funny because, like, he paints very different stuff than I do. A lot of, like, you know, they were painting some diesel punk today, or, you know, cyberpunk, or sort of... He paints a lot of, like, I don't know, like, gloomy futuristic stuff. But I feel like the starting of a painting could still be like this exact same process where you're just, yeah, machinery, stuff like that. But like the starting of the painting can still be the same. It's just you can just see different things than I see in it, because like I'm looking for environment shapes and I'm looking for like, you know, the scale and like, oh, here's mountains or here's roofs or here's buildings or whatever it is I'm looking for, right? Where you might be like, let's look for vehicles and smaller shapes, and like somebody else might say, let's look for a bunch of birds, you know, or animals, and then, oh, these kind of look like, you know, big flocks of birds or you know, masses of colorful fish in the ocean, right? Hey Joe, just curious, is the print redemption list the same as it was wait, just curious, is the print redemption list the same as it was last updated? Probably not. I mean, kind of. To be honest, I haven't been doing a lot with the prints. Both not from not a lot of people redeeming them, but also just I haven't updated and I haven't been it's I don't know if I've gotten like burnt out on the ordering prints and sending them out and all that. Like I mean, if people redeem them, I'll send them out, but I haven't really been updating it that often, and I probably should. But yeah, it's kind of the same. I also haven't been doing like a lot of finished pieces necessarily, or pieces that I'm like, this would make a good print. Or like a lot of the stuff that I do have that like A lot of the art I've been doing, I feel like don't necessarily make good prints, which I don't know. Maybe that's just a personal opinion and it doesn't vibe with other people's opinions. But because of that, I don't like rush to order them, you know? You've been saving up a redeem too? Oh, nice. You have 2 redeems. Yeah, that is always nice when people redeem multiples at a time. It definitely makes it easier. Costs a lot less, you know? But yeah, I don't know. If there's certain prints that you want, I mean, I always tell people to let me know what you want, and then I can decide if I want to get them or not. But then it'll have to wait for me to order. But yeah, you just hit 90K. Dang, that's a lot of points. Thank you for all the lurk and for the yeah. That's always nice when people accumulate points. It means they've been lurking, and I appreciate that. You're looking at what the yeah. I think the Discord still more or less has the same options. If you go to the Discord, in the thumbnail archive. You did. Oh wait. Oh, I didn't know that. The Kofi tip thing. No, it didn't. It didn't give me an alert. I don't know why. Oh, that's not the. Gosh, are all my alerts broken? Yeah. So I think these are still more or less the prints I have. I actually went through a while back and deleted a bunch that I don't really have anymore. That were options. Also, this one I don't even know if is here. But yeah, these I've had forever. They're kind of old, so I should probably update them. The last time I updated them was September 10th of 2025, so that was like almost a year ago. Well, thank you very much for the Ko-fi donation. I very much appreciate it. Yeah, I somehow either I didn't hear the thing. I should probably sign in then and see. But yeah, thank you. I never obviously I don't if I saw things like that I would obviously holy crap you did and that was a bit of money and I should have seen that. Oh my goodness. Wait. Well, thank you. Yeah, that was a while ago and yeah, I've been really I don't know. It was in April. LOL, my time perception is borked. No, well, yeah, I don't know how. I don't. I have an alert. Like, it's literally on my screen. Like, you can even see it in the bottom right. Or, no, maybe you can't. It used to be there. Maybe that's why it doesn't play. Well, at any rate, thank you very much for the, I'm only like 3 weeks late, but thank you for the donation. That very, very means a lot. I obviously never intend to not, I'm not ignoring them or anything. I just missed it, and I feel that's not cool, but because it's in the past, and so thank you very much. But yeah, that's extremely generous of you. Hope you've been well. And yeah, for the prints, if there's anything that I've made that you want a print of, let me know, and I will, I'll try to order it. Otherwise, you can just redeem the stuff, or if you redeem something that I do have, then I'll obviously send that out. And that goes for anyone. But yeah, today, for anyone just tuning in, I am just painting some random environments. I've been working on kind of a mini world building project, and this is sort of like just a random environment for that. But I didn't love it. I kind of wanted to do like another view of it, which I feel like this is more dynamic and interesting. Don't snitch on. Sometimes I'll lurk from from work. That's why I don't say anything. Don't snitch on me. No worries. Well, that's some serious dedication to the lurking. I appreciate it. Yeah, I do that too though. I've lurked in a few streams while working. I don't typically type, which I guess is what lurking is. But yeah. Um but yeah, this is kind of like a part 2 of this. I just wanted to change the angle a little bit. Um but let me open up some paintings that I've done recently. So like a lot of the stuff I do is like one-off sketches or one-off stream paintings, so like that, or actually this wasn't no, I'm not gonna show that one. These are the ones I've been sharing a lot, but like these kinds of things, and then I've been adding them to a world map. So here is the where's the world map? Let me open it. Do I break my computer? Anyway, here's the world map. So basically, I'm painting a location like this, and then I add it to the world map like that, and then it's just as a blob. And so over time, the paintings that I paint are added very, very slowly to the areas. So like this location isn't just a random blob on a map, but there's a painting associated with it, which is this. And so that's kind of the goal, is that each time I paint a thing, it'll make its way to the map. And I kind of am stringing them. There's some lore and some stringing it together, and so it sort of ties it all together. It's not like that's more for me, I guess, in a way. But I have made, I've talked about it, and we've talked about the world building. And this location is gonna probably be one of them. It'll probably be like a coastal area or so, or maybe not coastal. It'd probably be in the middle of like like here or something. I don't know where it will be. Could be here. Could be here. Obviously, I'm making these icons kind of big, so I don't know. I might have to go in and revamp this a little bit. But yeah, basically, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And yeah, just as I paint random stuff, mostly random. I say random, but like, because if we want to paint an underwater scene, right, I could just put underwater stuff. If I want to paint like a lake of lava or something, and it's like, okay, well, where would I put that? I could just make a spot, right? I could just be like, this is all lava, and we have lava islands and cities in here, like, we could totally do that. I don't know if I would, but I could just make biomes and make, none of this is set in stone yet until I put the location on the map. And then that's pretty set in stone, but even then, like, the surrounding area can change. So anyway, this has been a fun little project. That's kind of what I'm doing today, is I'm still just sketching random stuff, but I'm kind of trying to keep a little bit of... Also, I don't know how, but Twitch is playing a vertical ad on the side. That's annoying. Why is it playing any ad? I only have pre-rolls on, don't I? Let me double check. I should only have pre-rolls on. You can either run ads yourself and have pre-rolls, which technically if you run ads yourself, it can disable pre-rolls. But if you don't run ads, then you will have pre-rolls. And you can't, like, those are the options, basically. You have pre-rolls or you run ads yourself manually. There shouldn't be random crap popping up in your screen. 1 second. Because if I could turn them all off, I would. Because I don't make money through ads. At least not any reasonable amount of money. Monetization. Ads. Ads not scheduled. Ads manager. So they're not scheduled. Disable pre-roll ad when I run ads. Pre-roll ads notification. Enable. Wait, what? Enable dashboard notification to be alerted when pre-roll ads are enabled or disabled. What does that mean? Enable dashboard notification and be alerted when they are enabled or... So if I change the setting, I'm alerted. Okay, that's fine. Stream display ads. Enabled to run... No, that's turned off. There shouldn't be stream display... Because what you're seeing is stream display ads, right? Most people prefer to run ads manually to hit the 3-minute per hour requirement. Yeah, well, yeah, it's 3 hours only. That's only to disable pre-rolls. Yeah, so it's either you run 3 minutes an hour to disable pre-rolls, or you have pre-rolls on. That's what most people do. Some people do both. I think that's absurd. I try not to run any ads, and then I only have pre-rolls. So that if you have like Twitch Prime or any of those like turbo things, and then you'll never see ads, and you don't have to subscribe to my channel or anything. I just don't want to run ads. I feel like if you only have to, like, to me, and I realize there's a barrier to entry kind of thing. Like, if you're a new person, it sucks to have to watch an ad for the first time. But in the long run, watching an ad at the start of the stream is a lot fewer ads than me manually running ads every hour, right? So I don't know. I just go with the least amount, but I also realize from like how it feels as a viewer, sometimes watching an ad right at the start of the stream feels more intrusive because you've been here for 0 minutes and now you're watching an ad, and it's like that's a lot, you know, per minute watch time it feels worse, right? Whereas if you watch the stream for 30 minutes and then watch an ad, it's like, okay, whatever, it's an ad, but I've already been here, right? And so you're already kind of settled in and it doesn't feel as bad. But the total amount of time is less the way I do it. So I'm on the fence, right? This is one of those things where like there's part of me that like, well, everyone's doing it this other way, and also they probably make more money that way because you just run more ads. And so if everyone's doing it that way, don't I just do it also so that it's like the viewer knows what to expect? And in some, I think there's an argument for it, right? You do what sort of the Twitch culture is. That way the viewer doesn't feel like you're doing something worse, if that makes sense, even if you're not. I don't know. But on the other hand, I just don't know if it matters. I think to gain new viewers, running manual ads is better, but I don't know. I think for regulars, a pre-roll is better. That's my take. It might be a hot take. Actually, I don't know. What do you guys prefer? You tell me how to run my stream. Is there a preference? But yeah, I don't have any vertical ad stuff. There shouldn't be any vertical ad nonsense on my stream. I don't see why it doesn't... The only setting I see is stream display ads. And that's turned off. Maybe that's not what that means. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it. You prefer manual ads, to be honest? Okay, Fairmore prefers manual ads. Joe, I switched to CSP from Photoshop. Any brush pack recommendations? Not really. I would just try a bunch of different ones and see what works for you, but the brushes I use are there. So you prefer manual ads, okay. Well, that's 1-0. 1 in favor of manual ads. Do I switch because one person decided? No, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll be honest, the reason I don't like manual ads is because it's more... Well, for 2 reasons. One, it's just more ads. I would rather watch one ad and then be done with it and never have to watch them again on that stream. Like, each time I join, personally. Because I guess I'm just doing it the way that I prefer, right? The way that I see, like... I mean, I don't know. I think manual feels better. Ooh, another. Wait, what? What do you mean another? Are you serious? Is this a Twitch thing or this isn't my stream? Wait, is it like an actual ad? No, no, no. I don't have them turned on. You're kidding, right? Wait. Other than Azira, so I'm gonna put Azira to the side for a second. Do other people get random ads in the middle of stream? Because I have them turned off. Like I can show you my settings. Is this just like a? No, I believe you. I believe you, Azira. But I'm saying you aside because I want to know if this is a like. It's a video ad. It says 1 of 3. 005. Wait, so it's covering the video. So, like, how can you hear me right now? I'm confused. Is that because I was fiddling in my settings? I didn't change any settings, though. Is Twitch... So I want to know, is Twitch actually running ads? And it's guaranteed from Twitch? That's so annoying. So Twitch just pushes ads to people even though I have ads turned off? Other than pre-rolls? Well, at that point... That's annoying. If you look at the screenshot I sent you, you see the video has no sound. Okay, let me take a look. Oh, so it's in chat. That is obnoxious. Okay, well, it's good to know that it's... Okay. Also, yeah. If you look at the screen, yeah, that's strange. I don't know what to say. Other than, yeah, that's not my doing. That's a Twitch thing, but that still annoys me. Oh, that's... I wish I could just turn ads off completely. Like, literally 0 ads. That would be ideal, I think. For me, anyway. I realize Twitch technically still needs to make money. You don't mind them? I think the side ad is preferable to the entire stream being interrupted. Yeah. Well, yeah, but that's not... It's not that or this. That's separate. So that line of thinking doesn't work because it's not preferable to it, because it's not an alternative. It's not that one or this one. That's a thing regardless of what I do, clearly. So even if I ran the other ones, you'd probably still get those ads. Because that's not related to what I'm doing. So that's just like... So that's just an extra, which is stupid. That shouldn't be that way. At least from my understanding, that's what that is. Now, if it was just like either or and I gotta choose, then yeah, that would be a choice I could make. It's also funny because Twitch won't run ads on your channel unless you're affiliated. Yeah, I think, did that change? That might have changed. I actually don't know. Maybe Skittle would know. I think at some point they might have changed that, or they were talking about changing it, or I don't know if they did or didn't. I can't remember. Because I think a lot of people were choosing not to be affiliated so that they don't have ads. But I think Twitch might have done away with that. I actually don't know. Because I think they said something like, now everybody can earn money from ads. But also, it was just their way of being able to run ads on everybody's channel. But I could be wrong. Somebody who's streamed more recently, I guess, let me know. Because it definitely used to be the way you're describing, but I feel like I remember them talking about a different change. But yeah. Would I drop affiliate for no ads? I mean, I don't really get much from affiliate other than the emotes, which is kind of nice. I don't know. I mean, I guess I probably would, actually. It's like I don't... The ad revenue is basically nothing, right? Because like my channel's small enough that it's more or less insignificant. It might be more significant if I chose to run ads manually, because I get a lot more ad revenue from that way, because you just run a lot more ads, period. Like, that's... Right? Because if I have like 50 people viewing, that means 50 people have seen my ads, right? A one-time 30-second ad. Whereas if I run them manually and I have 50 people viewing concurrently at any point, but it's still 50 people, that's 50 people times, instead of 30, that's 10 times the... No, not 300. That's 5 minutes. What's 5 times? Nearly 5 times the amount of ads, but that's per hour, times 4 hours is 20 times the amount of ad revenue, roughly. No, that's probably not right, because I have people trickling in. I think my average viewer is 400, so... I don't know what it is. It's probably like at least twice as much. So yeah, I don't know. It's I guess the math is a little trickier than I thought it would be, but yeah, it's probably at least at the minimum twice as much ad revenue if I run them manually. But that's still like nothing. I think ad revenue I make with like 50 to 60 concurrent viewers, I think I get like $50 a month, maybe. No, I don't even think I get that from ads. That's like what I get with subs as well. You still need to be affiliate. Yeah, but I don't really get subs either. I think I have on average like 10 subs a month. And one of them's my brother, who just has Twitch Prime and he just subs every month. So I have like 9 subs a month. So the money is not exactly, and that, yeah, so I make like not much from Twitch. So yeah, I think if I could drop affiliate, I probably would, because it'd just be a better experience for people. I don't know. It's a tricky one. It's tricky because on one hand you do want, like if your stream grew, right, a lot, then obviously you would want to have some, revenue. Like I would obviously like to make money through Twitch. But if doing so means that the stream sucks and less people then join or stick around because the stream sucks more, then why would I want that? Okay, what am I painting? This is a weird... Let's add some roads or something. I kind of was making this look like it's just some big flat area, but let's add some ground plane. But yeah, no, the whole money side of streaming is similar to art. I mean, I think artists are notoriously bad at like the business side of things. And I am no exception. I always just feel slimy when like trying to monetize like a community of people. There was a discussion on I don't know why I saw it, but you know all the, well, you may not, but there's this thing that used to happen. It no longer happens. It was for writers. It was called NaNoWriMo, which is, I mean, people still do it, but it was like a self-imposed, it was kind of like an Inktober thing, but for writers, where for a month in November, you write 50,000 words, which is like 1,600 words a day, and you basically write a novel. In the course of a month, it's a novel writing month, and you just write every day and you make a novel. But it's the idea is that like it's not edited, it's still first draft, but it's just put words on the page and do a lot of writing, right? Challenge yourself to routinely write. And that was like a thing, right? Writers did this, they came together and did this thing, and it was all about the community, right? It was like where was I going with this story? I was going somewhere. But anyway, what I'm like, that was an awesome community, and like there was a reasons that like this whole thing failed, but like there was a like quote unquote official NaNoWriMo like website, and I don't know if they were self-branded as official, but it's what people used, right? They had like tracking stuff for how much you write, right? They had little badges. They had like organized by like you could sign up and find a group writing meetups based on where you lived, and so you could write in person, and it was very much a community, like by the community for the community. And one of the downfalls of the community was that the organizers of the community clearly were no longer for the community, right? They were pushing like AI crap, and their moderation was not making it a safe space for community members, like a whole bunch of stuff. It was like eating itself from the top down, right? Like the community, like the people who ran the community essentially were sabotaging the entire community. That's how I feel with intrusive ads and the money side, right? It's one thing if I have a product and I'm like, hey, here's my product. But once I start like trying to monetize the people who are here and hanging out for art, it's like I don't want to be the person who's self-sabotaging my own community by trying to be money grubby, you know? It's like if people are here because they want to be here, then they should be able to be here without feeling like I'm imposing a tax on them or something. Other than art tax. You're required to pay art tax. But like not real money. You know what I mean? like it feels like it goes against the goal of my stream. I like the community side of art and of Twitch, and to feel like I'm being, Twitch forcing ads and forcing me to do things or incentivizing me to do things that make the community a less fun place to be in just feels sucky. And so I've always had a weird relationship with trying to like monetize stream and art in general, because like to me art is such a like community thing, and it's weird when you're basically trying to sell your own peers in your community it's weird. It doesn't feel right to me, and it never has. And so it's like I don't like, I've seen that sort of story play out where like you have a community leader that sort of eventually loses the plot, and they start pushing things to their community and turns it into a thing it never wanted to be. And then it sort of it goes away because it's not as enjoyable. I mean, DeviantArt did this, right? DeviantArt being I'm not, I don't know enough about the DeviantArt situation, but like DeviantArt, I mean, it kind of, if it's a place by artists for artists, and suddenly the leaders of the site start pushing things that the community doesn't like and that nobody wanted, And it's like, why are you doing this? It's making the experience of how I engage with this community worse. Then suddenly people stop using it. It breaks the whole thing. Because, like, it... Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. When the whatever... I mean, it doesn't have to be a corpo, but it's like the community leader starts monetizing their community at the expense of the community. Now, there are ways to do it fine. Like there are crowdfunding type things if it's for like for the community that I think are fine, right? Where you sort of say, "Hey, you know, if you guys would like to pitch in, we could make this change as a community and we will like, you know, buy new things like, you know, like I don't know, like platform management stuff that makes it better and more enjoyable for everybody so that they, you know, like whatever it is, you know, server space or I don't know, just stuff that would make the way people are using the sites better. Like if that was a thing, I think it's fine to sort of like reach out to the community and say, "Hey, if we want this cool new toy in our community, then it's going to cost money." I think that's fine. But that's different than just like putting ads in front of people and making the service less usable and, you know, making a thing that you used to be able to do in 1 click now take 5 clicks, you know? It's just like, why are you making the experience worse? Right? It's like you're putting a bunch of barriers on a well-worn path, and it's like, now it just sucks. And then you find somewhere else to go, because... Yeah. I hate gambling casino ads. Yeah. Are they on my stream? That sucks. Wouldn't surprise me. I wish there was a way to opt out of, like, certain types of... I mean, actually, is there? Hold up. I don't actually know. Are there a list of... Again, I feel like I should know more about this, but Twitch changes random policy so much that I never know. Are there ways to opt out of certain types of ads? Because I would absolutely opt out of all casino and gambling ads if I could. Like, stick to like baby diapers and pet food. Like seriously, like, you know, pretty harmless stuff. Pet food, well, yeah, like or like razors for shaving, you know. Um what else is pretty innocent and not very harmful? Yeah, that kind of Doritos. No, even that's like still junk food, but hey, whatever. I you know, Subway and Denny's or whatever other like fast food, you know, Taco Bell ads. Like, I don't know. At some point, those I feel like are far. I mean, again, fast food's not healthy, so there's an argument to be made, but I don't think it's as bad as gambling ads, especially when like, yeah, I think gambling ads are awful and should not be allowed. Putting in some random colors. Painting some greens. You know what? Let's try something. I'm getting a lot of dark colors in here. Just like random dark shadows that weren't meant to be just black. So I'm going to do something. I'm going to copy this layer. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to edit. I'm going to tonal correction. Already got to go. Soon, I think I'll claim the print redemption points first and choose the pick later. All right, that works. As long as you remember, because if you don't remember, good luck getting the print. Because I won't know what print to send. I do know one of the prints I want is the one you showed on screen today. I don't know which one that is. I do not know which print you're talking about. It's easier when it's in the redeem itself. Ah, thanks for the print redeems. 1, 2. Okay, well, yeah. Okay, some funky colors here. What are you adjusting? Oh, I was adjusting hue. I was adjusting hue right there, Druff. Yeah, just hue. I was just trying to get the... what I should have done was saturation, actually. Well, I think I did a little bit of saturation, too. Yeah, I think I went... Edit, tonal correction, hue saturation. I think I might have adjusted saturation, too. But yeah, mostly I was adjusting hue. I picked it on Discord, if that's okay. That's fine. I picked it on Discord. Well, I don't know what that means, but yeah, if you want to send me, let me know which prints you want on Discord, and once you let me know, then I will send them. Oh, you don't see a pop-up window? Oh, that's because I was on the wrong screen. I was just in hue saturation. And so I was adjusting the saturation level and the hue. That's what I was doing. Just trying to get some different colors. Something that I might not normally paint with. Trying to go a little bit more saturated in the shadows. And then probably less saturated in the lights. But yeah, just playing around. I like adjusting hue. Yeah, I do too. It's because a lot of times you have, when you're painting, right, you have like not a predisposition. What's the word I'm looking for? Like a tendency to use certain color relationships, right? Like you might use a desaturated blue because you think that looks nice for skies, right? And then you might use a saturated purple because that, or like a desaturated purple red, or a more saturated purple red because it's kind of opposite of blue, and it's also you know, it's warm cool combo, right? Saturated, desaturated. But like, you're not going to necessarily do that with green, right? You're not necessarily going to take a desaturated green and then a saturated blue, right? That may not be a color combo that you do a lot of. Or you may not take a desaturated red, right? Like a pink, and then a saturated teal or something, right? Like, those aren't necessarily colors you're going to do. And so adjusting the hue will just keep those relationships the same and slide it. And so you do get colors and color relationships that you may not otherwise get because they're a little bit wonky. And I like it. I like starting like that because... yeah, it's just a fun way to mix it up, but it's mixing up in an extremely predictable way, I guess is what I really like. And obviously you do get things like these bright skies, right? A very orange sky, and you may not want that. And so then you can go back in and like paint it out, right? You can be like, okay, well, let's add some bluish color. But you're still keeping a lot of that same orangey stuff. But yeah, I think playing with, as long as it's a predictable way, I think that's why I like that. And I know there are more fancier ways to play with color and to make color like random variations. Now it looks like a city's on fire. It does look like the city's on fire a little bit. We can change that. We can play more with we could do like a saturate an overlay and do like a blue. It'll make it more saturated, but that's just adding blue to everything. Could really make it on fire. I mean, that's like sunset, I guess. I don't think I want that. I do think I want the blue to be... I don't know. That kind of feels like underwater, almost. Hmm. It does kind of have a on fire vibe. Hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I also don't like that this is let's play around with some of these shapes. I do like just playing around like this though. Exploring shapes. What if I bring this upward, for example? Obviously it doesn't work from a perspective point of view, but we'll have to change it. I think that is better. Large buildings. I don't know. What do I draw here? Maybe a little bit of bluish color here. Not sure what this is. I don't know. It's fun to make these little abstract shapes for your buildings and just whatever you're painting. I think it's fun to do that. I kind of feel like I want to go like that, but I don't know if that's going to look good. That turns it very organic, like a mountain kind of vibe. And I don't know if I want mountains back here. They were buildings. Maybe we'll put some more roofs over here. Could do like cars or something. Little windows up here. Kind of looks snowy. Snowy and icy. That's what that looks like to me. Definitely looks a little icy. A little bit ice. What else? What else? What else? I kind of like... Do we want this orange in here? It's kind of fun. Don't really know what it is or why it's here. Trying to figure out what my abstract blobs are is always an interesting thing. Random blobs. Don't know what this is. Ooh, this is kind of fun, actually. Maybe that's not fun. I don't know what that is. Anyway, random buildings, random blobs. Thank you for the follow. Reminds me of Disco Elysium. I don't really know what Disco Elysium is. I know the name, but like I don't know what it is. Like I have definitely heard the name before. I don't know if I've ever seen Disco Elysium art. What is Disco? Let me Google it. Oh, you're linking it. That's not what I would have thought when you said this reminds me of that. I guess it kind of has like that overwhelming color, like the overwhelming orange or overwhelming blue. It's very chaotic. Narrative game with very distinctive art style. I guess, okay, gotcha. Also, Lemsil, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Okay, this building feels wrong. I think it's a perspective issue. Could also be a design issue because it's different than all the other buildings. Maybe that's what it is. Howdy. Howdy, howdy. Hope everyone's doing well. Anyone doing anything exciting today with art? Or not even, it doesn't have to be exciting for you, but like, is anyone doing anything with art and they'd like to share? You don't have to think it's exciting. I'll think it's exciting for you. Just the trestle-like shapes you made? Gotcha. I don't know what that word means. You're using that word, and I don't know what that means. What's a trestle? Now I gotta look that up. I'm learning so much today. Trestle. Table. Images. Oh, it's this thingy. Like this shape? Like the is that what you call those? Maybe not. The crisscrossy support structures. Gotcha. Yeah, very. So I know that from like, you know, like Tudor homes and stuff, right? Where you have that certain architectural style. And then you have like these bigger top areas and smaller bottom areas. And so you have these shapes that cut inward. And they're kind of slightly top heavy, which is always interesting. Where you have like a square on top of another square. Oh, you were kind of seeing metal structures? Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I was thinking more wood. But again, that's one of the joys of painting like this, is that when you're the one painting it, you see a shape and you can lean into that shape. Now, I kind of like the idea that there's like a rift or a magic or there's a something in the middle here. Like, this middle area is not your normal... It's not your normal stuff. But, like... I don't know what I'm trying to say. So, oh, not that. I don't know. Like, what if I do... Okay, I'm just experimenting here. But what if I take, like, a multiply, and I kind of tone the whole thing, just make it a little darker? This might be a bad idea. Maybe darker and bluer. No, maybe darker and redder. And orange. It's ugly, but we'll see. Ooh, what about darker and purpler? Because the painting's already kind of purple. And then in the middle, blow dodge. Blue. I don't know. Kind of rusty cold. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the orangey vibe feels a little blue. I don't know. I'm just playing around here. Hoping I stumble on something fun. Something like, I don't know. Is that weird? Is that stupid? It might be. I don't know. I don't want to discount it yet, though. Sometimes stupid is, you know, it turns into not stupid. And sometimes it just stays very stupid. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But I like this stuff. It's fun. Maybe that makes it not stupid by definition. I don't know. I think sometimes in art, it's okay to explore stuff that feels stupid as long as you're having fun. Now, how does this relate to the buildings I'm drawing? Ooh, what if I do this? Like, what if there's like a boardwalk type thing? Like, it's leaning over, it's over it. Oh, not that. Oh, wait. I have a brush for this. Hold on. What am I doing? I'm busy drawing all these lines, and I have this fancy brush here. It's not that fancy. I can just do this, right? Maybe not. Maybe I can't. No, is that gonna work? No, probably not. Dang, I was thinking this might work. Maybe it would. If I go horizontal. Eh. I mean, it's kind of cool. There's definitely something happening here. Right? Maybe a rake brush would be helpful, and maybe. Maybe. Maybe I'm not too worried about it. I'm kind of liking where this is going. I like this. Yeah, me too. I think it's working. I mean, it's... Whoa, what did I do? The active domain... I don't know what I just hit. Now, I don't know if my values and stuff work super well. I think a lot of this could be cleaned up a bit, and sort of like this dark shapes could be stronger in the right spots. Don't know quite what's happening in here. Where's the light and the shadow of the buildings? In fact, I probably could go a lot lighter with some of the shadows and the light on the houses. So, like, these could be bright. Top could be darker. Definitely think we can go a little bit lighter on some of this, especially back here. Right, because like this is gonna be where like these bright spots are on the roof. And these can be darker. Kind of go in here and just kind of clean up some of the shapes and the colors. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea. I think this shape also is kind of weird. Like it feels like a big house that's out of shape. And by out of shape, I don't mean like unfit, but like it's just the shape is weird. Maybe... Do we need a big building here? Is that what we need? I think that's what we need. Maybe it doesn't matter what the building looks like. We just need something here. That, yeah, out of shape. No, 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 not like that. Not like that. It just felt like the shape didn't mesh with the rest of the shapes, right? It's like I've established a shape language or some sort of consistency in the shapes, and then that one building didn't follow the rest of that language. It felt like it was the wrong shape for what I was painting. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Now this feels very skinny. Sorry for the noob question. What shape? So like, so the way I meant it is like, I mean, I probably didn't even use the best word. So generally speaking, shape language is like your, you can almost think of it as like, I mean, it's not exactly this, but like if you train the viewer on a shape, so like this is what a tree looks like, right? So maybe it's, maybe I'm making a tree to be this shape, right? Or these kinds of shape, right? Now, are these what trees really look like? Well, no. But if I put a bunch of trees in here and I give you enough clues that this is what the trees look like, your brain's gonna eventually be like, that's a tree. You've learned the language, right? Not all, or if I'm making houses, and it's more complex than this, but like, maybe you learn that houses look like this, right? Or maybe they look like this, right? Maybe that's how houses look. But once I've established, like, again, it could be like an architectural style or whatever, or a tree shape style, or, maybe everything in the painting, from the houses to the trees to the clouds even, maybe they all have like certain jaggedy shapes. Then if there's something comes along that is just in a different, like, it just doesn't vibe, it doesn't fit the same, like, the choices that led you to make whatever shapes these are, it's like you're speaking a different language. And I guess the reason it's a language is because there's lots of different, right? But also there's like, I mean, this whole topic can get pretty deep, and I'm not probably the best person to talk about it, but like, it also, even within like actual cultures, right, there are different ways of, like, like a Chinese art style might look slightly different than how, maybe like a Western European art, right? There are certain ways that maybe people depict things. So whether it's cultural, that, like, it could be religious symbols, and there's, like, I think a shape language can be, it's kind of like language, right? Like, it's sort of a thing that you learn, whether it's through repetition. Sometimes it's within a single image that you learn the language, or a single story. But it can also just be like bigger, broader trends. So I guess what I was saying, it doesn't fit with the rest of the painting. That's the way I meant it. In its most simple terms, is the shapes of that building didn't look like they fit with the rest of the building. Interesting. I would have said shape language is how a shape feels. Thin versus fat shapes, fragile. Well, a lot of it is that, right? A lot of it is like this kind of thing where, like, if you make, like Druff said, if you make a lot of trees that look like they're spindly and, fragile, right? And they're very delicate, and then you come in with like the biggest, chonkiest tree you've ever seen that looks super sturdy. That's like, those things aren't both depicting a tree in the same language, right? They're using different language. But also it's could be like a chaotic, frantic, mark making, right? Maybe you have a frantic mark making, and then you have something over here that's just like, super, fluid and the most like clean lines ever. That's not vibing with the, you know, if the rest of your scene is super frantic and chaotic for, you know, here's a tree, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna make a tree, and then if that's how all of your trees are painted, this is gonna like not, it's not the same, right? It has a different thing. You've established different rules. I mean, I guess if you think of like the vocab of art, right? If we think of art as a visual communication, right? You can think of the vocab as like the vocabulary that you use are like the choices that you make, right? It's the way you do things with perspective, the way you do things with shape, the way you communicate mood, right? There are other ways to communicate a similar mood, but if you do them in the same painting, it might break that mood, right? If maybe you like to depict, I don't know, something in a certain way, or maybe a certain story, or it's a big topic, right? I mean, even in language, it's a big topic because like there's dialects and there's all these different things, and like it's not a. But yeah, I think generally speaking, a lot of the choices that people make are specifically designed to like make you feel something, right? Like a pointy shapes might make it feel dangerous, right? If I put a bunch of spikes everywhere, right? That's like, it has a certain look, like Gothic architecture, right? It has like this weird dangerous look, and you know, you're putting a bunch of spikes and weird stuff everywhere, it's gonna have a feel to it, right? Or if you use a lot of dark muted colors, it's gonna feel a certain way, right? Coming through and like using a different using a different language, or you know, it could be colors, it could be shapes, it could be, I mean, I think typically with design language it's talking about like communicating design, right? Like the design of a building, or the design of trees, or the design of your clouds. It's the design of your shapes, right? It's how the shapes communicate stuff. And if you're breaking that design, those design, it's like having a design philosophy, right? Like, I guess there's just lots of different ways to say it, but like generally speaking, if you go into like a design project, right? You might have like a design philosophy, like for example, our goals are, and then you might state what your goals are, right? And any choice you make in your design is going to help fulfill those goals. Well, if you just shift goals randomly, then suddenly you're doing different choices, right? That lead based on different goal, and it's gonna vibe, it's gonna mesh, right? It's almost like this thing's communicating one thing and that thing's communicating another, and that's like a language issue, right? It's like I don't know. I mean, there's probably lots of different ways to explain it, and that's how I understand it. I'm sure different people talk about it slightly differently. But again, I think just like with language, is a little bit complicated or nuanced because there's a lot of random, like, different languages have different ways of expressing different ideas. It's not always clear. You can't just translate word for word one thing from one language to another. Sometimes they do different things. Anyway, I'm sure the analogy only goes so far. But yeah, I think what Drupzilla said is pretty much the way that I think is typically it's explained, right? It's like, but I think to me it's more about the why are you doing what you're doing, because that's how you decide what language you're speaking, right? Like that's how you come up with a shape language, is like, why do you want it to be sturdy versus fragile or whatever? If you're telling a story that is, you know, supposed to be calm, well then using lines, and again, I think some of it is culture. Parts of language are culture, right? Or most of it. I guess all of language is culture, I guess. I don't know, but sometimes there's things that are out of necessity, right? Like I think there are parts of us, and actually I think some of it transcends culture, right? Like you have like the boba versus Kiki thing, or Bobo, I don't know what it is. But basically they put a bunch of people from different cultures in a room, and they had different shapes. So they had like I'm trying to draw shapes here. You know, they have a shape like this, and then they have another shape like you know, this, right? And they're like, which of these shapes do you think is named Bobo? And which do you think is named Kiki? And they would ask a bunch of people. They would ask little kids. They would ask people in different cultures who don't speak English, different, all sorts of different things. No, it wasn't just like, and it was like pretty much people were like, that's Kiki, that's Bobo, right? Maybe it's because of the shape that you make with your mouth. It's like kind of rounded and it's a softer sound Bobo rather than Kiki is very like these peaks of right? And like that's not something that you learn. That's just like jagged shapes make you feel a certain way or like right, so like there are some things about shapes that are I think are just very like if you see a bunch of scribbly things, yeah, Kiki's, it's a sharp thing. But anyway, I guess my point is that I think a lot of when people talk about shape language, it's not always, I think some of it is sort of these things that we treat as true, like triangles make you feel off balanced or something, right? Or like shapes like that feel sturdy because they're literally sturdy in real life. And if you have shapes stacked the other way, right, this might feel very unsturdy because, well, it would literally fall over in real life. And so, yeah, if you want to make a city that feels like it's about ready to fall over, making it really tall and rickety, small on the bottom, stacked up with all these big, houses on stilts and like that's going to feel more rickety, right? Because it sort of has that structure than if you make the city feel more sturdy. And so I don't think that's like a thing that you've been trained on. I think that just makes sense. But that almost to me is like a universal fact of language, of shape language. But then there are also things that are very much trained, right? Like the shape of a gun, right? We could train you if you play like a shooter with like weird futuristic guns. By the end of the game, you might see a certain shape and know exactly what that thing does. And you might start associating a certain shape with a certain thing, right? You've learned the language of that game. That, this shape is a certain, this shape here, this is now the shape of a gun. You hold it here or something. It's a weird shape. It doesn't look like a gun, but you might learn that this is like, if you see this, you better duck, right? Or whatever, right? You might learn the language of a thing because it's you've been trained, right? We can train you also through repetition, through, yeah, and it works with gesture, yeah. And so there's a lot of stuff like that where some of it is like we've learned what certain things look like through design because we've seen cars, we've seen, carriages, we've seen all sorts of different transportation that looks a certain way. We see and some of it's based on like nature, right? You see wings and you think it can fly, right? Like there's all these different like assumptions that we make based on what we see. But then again, there's also things that we train you on, which is like it's not always based on nature. So it's interesting. It's a big topic, and I think you can do a lot of work to establish. Like again, it's sort of to me, it's almost synonymous with design philosophy, except shape language is more specifically shape design. Whereas like design philosophy could also be color palettes and right. If you've ever like seen like a Magic the Gathering card brief where they lay out like I think there was some Innistrad stuff, 10 years ago where I saw a whole like a giant info dump or like a giant dump of all these like card descriptions from like art directors of like the guidelines for the specific cards. I'm sure there's more recent ones floating out there, but they had things like any sky must be gray. You can't have vibrant colors in here. Like no color allowed basically in your skies. It needs to look gray. And it had things like, Gothic style architecture. okay, fair enough. It's a gothic horror setting. Um, and it had very specific things of what you must do, and it wasn't just shapes, right? But it was an entire style guide. So when you look at it, you understand everything about it, right? It would be on shape language, but it's just full on like design philosophy, design language, right? It's all of the language. It's color, it's shape, it's characters, it's how big the characters need to be in an environment to make sure it feels like an environment and not a character. That can vary from piece to piece. Um, there's just all sorts of different stuff. And it could, anything you can think of could potentially be like a rule that you set for yourself. And then that can work its way once you start making lots of choices. It starts working its way into your. I mean, again, I guess style is part of that, I mean, in some ways it's also style, right? I think some people probably would just call it style, but what they're actually describing as style is more of like a series of choices based on goals and like a language, right? I don't know. It kind of, maybe it depends on who's talking about it. Like if the artist's talking about it, they talk about it as you know, a shape language, whereas a viewer is going to say a style because they don't know they don't know what the words are. They just see the output, right? They just see it, and if they understand it, they understand it. They're not thinking of it as like their brain's interpreting it, right? So they just say style. I don't know. I think there's a lot of overlap. There's so many wishy-washy words in art that all kind of sort of mean the same thing, and different people talk about different parts of them differently, and I never really know what to make of it. But I think it definitely taps into the idea that, art is you're communicating with pictures, right? And just like when you're communicating with words, there's some shared understanding of stuff. And it's not always shared and it's not universal, right? Again, just like language, it's it's different depending on where you go, right? There are certain ways, like for example, symbols. In Chinese culture, a skull might be one thing, and in another, it might be something different. So if you're using skull imagery, that's a design language or I mean, maybe not a shape language specifically, but it's certainly a language. It's a communication thing, right? You're using shapes to communicate something. If you're using a cross, right, that might have certain. That's not how you make a cross, right? That might have certain connotations of what that. Do you think gesture is universal? Gesture, like a person. Um, I don't know. You mean just like a person running or I mean there probably are some that are, but I would imagine especially with like the whole Disney kind of thing, like the way you exaggerate gesture. I mean, I think exaggerating gesture is not universal. I would imagine you could exaggerate it. There are probably lots of stylistic things of how we exaggerate gesture and elongate things to make a character look like they're running faster or slower or like there's probably things that we do that we just sort of take for granted because we've done them for so long that we assume that it's natural that are not that were like conscious design decisions at some point, but nowadays we just treat them as true. But then I think gesture is still there's like movement, for example, just like the gesture of like birds flapping their wings. Yeah, I think you could just imply some shapes that you see in nature, and I think it's natural in the sense that we've seen it all our lives because we've seen birds and birds exist all over the planet, right? So I think if you make shapes like this and they look like birds, I think that's pretty normal. You're sort of getting that gesture. Um, but a tree bending over, feeling like a character leaning in. Oh, I don't. Oh, you mean like relating it to like human, like inanimate object, using gesture in an inanimate object to make them feel human? I don't know. I'm not sure if that's. I mean, a lot of these things are so hard to teach. Like I don't know. I feel like you'd have to do like a historical deep dive into like art and art history because I feel like with animation and Disney, specifically Disney, but animation in general, a lot of work has been done to sort of turn inanimate objects and make them feel human. Whereas, like, I don't know if you stumbled across an old tree leaning over to make it to bring the associations of like, oh, that looks like an old man, or like a, you know, like someone whose back is bent and hurt. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think people will always relate things to themselves, so maybe. I'm not sure. It's hard to know if it's like a cultural thing or like an innate thing, right? I don't know. Because it's... But my guess is there's a lot of culture at play, because how you talk about subjects. Some people talk about, you know, trees and... Or some cultures will talk about trees and living things as if they are human, right? Like they have spirits and they're living, feeling things, and others don't, right? And so it kind of depends, I would imagine. My guess is there's a lot more cultural going on than we would give it, you know, credit for. There was that video we watched about four artists paint a tree. Did you ever see that? It was like a Disney. It was like a four Disney artists paint a tree, and it was one of them I remember was talking about like, oh, I'm gonna paint this tree as if it's architecture, right? There's scaffolding of the branches, and there's, you know, these big vertical shapes that are like support beams, and like the other one was talking about it as if it's like, you know, a human, like it's gesture and stuff. So it was interesting because I don't. I mean, obviously that was like those were intentional choices to like give a, hey, hello, YJN 2022 or 2022. I don't know why I said 2022. YJN22, how's it going? But like those were obviously intentional choices to use like metaphor to guide them. Like that was more like shape language in that sense. But I could imagine, right, a culture being brought up to think of like trees as scaffolding and buildings and not think of it as like a living, breathing thing, right? And maybe you wouldn't make associations between tree is hunched over, looks like it's an old person, right? Or upright makes it look like it's very whatever, right? Like I could imagine that not being the case, but I also have no idea. I mean, it could be one of those like Kiki Bobo things where we just it's, you know, it's with us. Yusef, how's it going on YouTube? Hello. Doing good. How about yourself? I'm doing good. We were talking about shape language and I guess really all art, not just shape language, but like I guess design language. It's, yeah, I like that topic. I think it's a big topic. It's interesting, and yeah, I'm doing good though. Just rambling and painting little squares of things. We did this last stream. I was thinking about doing another version of it today, but just like a different perspective. And then I just started painting random stuff, and that's what I'm doing now. Just painting random environments. I think this whole topic though is very like it's very close to, I guess, a lot of the way that I paint, which is to come up with like, not, I don't know if you'd call it a language, but it's certainly like a, yeah, I would call it a language, but it's not based on like objective things. It's more based on like patterns and like for example, I might choose to have like a gradient of like, okay, if this is gonna be the watercolor, right, or whatever this is, right, I'm gonna have like this, I'm gonna outline them in yellow, right? Maybe there's flowers here, maybe there's plants. And so if I'm gonna make a random, you know, pond here, that's fine, but now I need to make sure I outline, right? Because it's gonna create this pattern of like, you know, this teal, this yellow, and then this green. That's not like, it's not really based on anything other than just like a choice. Maybe it's because these are gonna be ponds and this is like sulfur, or something, and so you have like this yellow sulfury color. But like sometimes it's based on nature, sometimes it's just literal, just made up. But as you paint, you end up repeating these patterns, and they start to build out sort of like, you can start to, you know what to expect when you see a thing, right? And so suddenly if you see like a little bit of yellow in the distance, you can be like, oh, that's the edge of a lake or a pond, right? I know there's water behind that. Even though I can't see it, you know it's there because I'm being consistent, right? And so if this is this way, this is that way, you can assume that this also has water back there, right? And that's like, it's a way of communicating where you're repeating patterns, you're establishing motifs, and you're doing all this stuff, right? I don't know what you call that, but that's a thing I do a lot when I paint, or I try to. And it just makes it a little easier to, it just makes it a little bit more clear, I think. Actually, I don't even think, I would go so far as to say it makes it more clear. It was like factually. I think when you know what to expect and you've sort of been trained on it through consistent choices. And I mean, this actually, I do this a lot in the wrong way, which is with lighting, where I don't have consistent lighting, and then it's not as clear because you don't know exactly what to expect. Or like you can't form logical conclusions, right? When it's inconsistent. There was that did you guys hold on? There was this thing on Reddit recently. It was the horses. I don't know if you guys and like having consistent, let me find it. It was a video. I thought it was really cool. I don't know if it's still going to be in the front page, but... Oh, here it is. So this video confused me for a second. I don't know, depending on what size you're viewing it on. So these horses, you're viewing them from above. See these little shapes, like the white shapes? These are shadows, right? This is literally a top-down view. Like, exactly top-down. Anyway, it broke my brain for a bit, because I was like, what are these little white dots? I don't know if you can see that. But anyway, that only, like... Anyway, the point, I don't know why I brought this up. I kind of do. But, like, I think if you have consistent shadows and lighting, you can do stuff like that, right? You can show the shape of a shadow, and then you can infer what the object is, right? If you don't have consistent lighting, you can't infer what the shape of the object is. You don't know what you're looking at. And so you might... And I think that's something that I don't do enough of, especially with, like, top-down scenes. We've talked about this before with, like, if you have a table and some chairs, the only way you're going to know that this is a table and chairs... Well, not the only way, but, like, this could be lots of things, right? Now, or if maybe I'll make it slightly less orthodox, right? Just two chairs, right? Or actually, if we do something like this, right? You would never know this is a table and two chairs, right? But the second that but if you add the proper shadows, shadows looking like this, I don't know if this is going to look right, because I don't know if it's consistent. Wait. Something like that, maybe? I don't know. Maybe we'll go like that. Right? If you did something like this, suddenly you're like, okay, well, that's more likely. Like, maybe I didn't draw that very well. But I should have drawn it at an angle, to be honest. But I guess the point I'm making is this shows the height of the thing, right? Like, this shows that the table is taller than the chairs. Again, I don't know if this is the right way to show this. I probably did it wrong. I probably should have put it like that or something. I don't know. But I guess the point I'm making is that if you have consistent shadows, you can show how tall things are, you can show their form, right? You can show an abstract shape. Yeah, you can show an abstract shape that you could never understand what it is from the side or from the top, but suddenly you can have then give enough information for someone to know what it is, right? If you had a chair here, and then from the side of the chair, you know, you had something like this. It started looking like a chair. Maybe it would be shorter here, right? Like, that might be like, okay, that's a chair, right? But you would never know that. How would you know that, right? You wouldn't know that unless you had the shadow. And so that, anyway, I guess my point is that even, like, so sometimes I have consistent patterns in my art, especially like big shapes and colors, but then sometimes with lighting I don't. So I'm all over the place. I don't do a great job of it. I think sometimes I'm okay at it. It's also one of the reasons I really like doing like a capped mount, like rocks. So if I put a bunch of rocks or something in my scene like this, I always like to add little shapes and on top of them, like little bits of like greenery or something. It could be, or snow or moss, right? Anything that kind of caps them, because it gives it sort of a language, right? It's like here's these shapes, and this is kind of creating a, like, now you know this is the top of the mountain because it has these greenery. And so now if you come back down here and add more of that, you can start implying what you're looking at. Right now we know these are little ledges because I've added green up here, right? I've added these green horizontal lines, and now you know it's the top of a ledge because we've established it's the top of a ledge by putting them on the top of the ledge, right? Like, if I just drew a random mountain with a random green line, you may not know for sure what that is, right? That might just be an errant brush mark, right? It might just be a random bit of color left on the page. But suddenly, now we understand that these are complex forms, and, you know, obviously light and shadow can do that too, right? We can add, you know, dark shapes in here to help show that they're something. But I think that's a big part of it. We're communicating with shapes and color and all these things, and setting ourselves up with some obvious things and then doing it, you know, some less obvious things, but using that stuff we set up. I bet you could make it far in fine arts by making that your signature style. Just top-down stuff? Probably. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how people make it in fine arts. I don't know what's required, to be honest. I feel like it's 99% just publicity and popularity in terms of, like, you know, talking to people and getting your name out there and putting on a big show and, like, being a personality. I don't really understand fine art. I don't want to boil it down to just that. But it feels very much like social media before social media. So, like, the real life version of social media. That's always what I felt a lot of fine art feels like. I hate saying that because I think that's feels dismissive to it, and I don't want to do that. But that's sort of just like my ignorant read on it. Hype economy, yeah, kind of that. Like, especially before social media, where, like, you had big names who would do these big stunts, and I mean, you still get it, right? On the extreme end, you do have, like, you know, banana on the wall, right? You have they're literally, like, it's an attention economy. It's not about the art. It's about everything other than the art, pretty much. It's about the buzz, the talk of it. It's the people who involved. It's the location sometimes. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to, like, you know, I don't have anything against fine art. It's alien to me. It's not the same thing. It's just different. It's so different for me that I don't even know how to talk about it really. At least the money side of it. Now, a lot of fine artists are just doing like, I guess what you'd call conceptual art, not concept art, but conceptual art, right? Where it's more about like gesture, abstract gesture, and like that stuff. I actually get. I actually understand the 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 art making side of that. Like there's a lot of really gorgeous and just really awesome fine artists out there doing like abstract portraitures or abstract like gestural things that are very like they do make you feel a thing, right? They're really good at like, I don't know, like like conveying like, this is what depression looks like, or this is what, you know uh overwhelming joy feels like, right? It's just sort of like a thing, but it's vaguely, it's not totally representational, but it's not completely abstract. It's somewhere in the middle. Right? I like that stuff. I think that stuff's cool because it almost always relies on the same sort of skills that we use, right? As sort of like illustrators or concept artists. But then there's like the whole other thing, right? There's like the banana on the wall, which is, that's like, I don't, that becomes not about the painting, and that's about the person. And I think a lot of fine artists are somewhere in between, where you're doing, it's some about the painting, but sometimes it's just like making marks and then you're selling the story of those marks, and it's not about the marks, it's about the story. And that's the part of painting and fine art that I don't understand. Um because it doesn't feel like you even need the art. It could just be like a famous person's dirty pair of socks, and like if you're famous enough, somebody will buy it. Like at some point, it doesn't matter what it is, right? Calling it art, calling it like, we don't even need to call them an artist. It just is a famous person selling something, right? And people will buy it if you're famous enough. And yes, it might be made with paint and it might be on a canvas, or it might not be. It might be made with duct tape and a vegetable, right? Like, it doesn't matter what it is. If it has enough fame and popularity, somebody will buy it. And that's, I don't get that. I mean, I do get it, but I don't get the point. Like, I don't see how you can even compare that to like an abstract artist who's making you feel a thing, right? Like, I don't, like, they're not. It's like comparing I mean, other than the fact that we're attaching the label of art to it, like, okay, great, they're both art, but like, what does that mean? Who cares? Who cares? I don't know. So yeah, I could rant about the topic, which I am, because it's an interesting one also. And again, I realize that I am not in that scene, so I am not in a position to talk about it uh, in any sort of nuanced way, right? I don't take my word for how that whole community works, because quite frankly, I don't really understand it. Although with that being said, I think sometimes the narrative around those things, especially when the entire point, in my opinion, is the narrative, it's hard to trust the narrative, right? When someone's like, "Oh, this thing's super important because of this, and this reason," well, can you trust that? Because like that's, calls coming from inside the house kind of thing. Like, maybe that's not the right phrase, but like, I don't know. It's a little like when you make a business of telling a big story, and then someone says, "Oh, I don't really understand the story." Well, how do you go to the person who's telling the story to understand it? Like, maybe maybe that's not the best source, because that's the whole point, is they're trying to make you think it matters. So I don't know. I don't know what to think when it comes to certain fine art. I think for me it comes down to, do I like it? If not, then I don't, don't try to don't try to convince me and tell me why I should like something. If I don't like it, I don't like it. If I like it, I like it. Don't try to tell me I shouldn't like it. Um, you know, that's really, I think, where I stand on it. If I think banana on wall is stupid, don't try to convince me it's not. I don't want to be convinced. Not really. Like, I think with a good enough storyteller, I'm sure you could spin a story that makes me think it's the most important piece of art ever, right? Whether or not the story is true, right? If you tell it, you can change the context with a good story, or any story, right? Whether it's obviously a true story, sometimes the context does change, right? But I think a lot of times with art, it's just, yeah, I don't know, something. Was that coherent? Is that a coherent thought? I don't know. But yeah, I think a lot of times when I paint environments, right, I'm doing kind of what I'm doing now, is where I start with like I'm doing patterns, right? I'm like, oh, let's add these brighter rocks in here. And as long as I do it in enough of them, you'll start to understand what they are, right? You'll sort of start to, like, you'll start to understand. Like, if I'm adding like a little bit of light up here on the tops of these, well, then I can add a little bit of light up all on here. Right? I'm using like well, it's language, right? I'm communicating a thing. I first communicate it in a very easy spot, like here, and then I start doing it in more, like, nuanced spots, like on the edges of these rocks that start to define forms. I feel like that's how everyone works. Maybe I'm wrong, though. But, like, I don't know how you would make choices in your art otherwise. Howdy, Joe, says Suhail on YouTube. Howdy. Hope you're doing well. How's it going? How's the YouTube side of things? For those who don't know, I stream on both Twitch and YouTube, technically. My YouTube streaming is mostly for the VODs, so the main place I stream is on Twitch. But obviously, because I'm live, so it auto-saves the VODs afterwards. People can watch on YouTube. Some people like YouTube better. Most people don't. Most people like Twitch better. But honestly, in the future, who knows? Maybe with Twitch's ads and nonsense that they like to do, maybe people will go to YouTube. I don't know. But yeah, my main place currently is Twitch. But yeah, so hi YouTubers also. But yeah, hope you're doing well. I'm just painting little environments, playing around with shapes and colors and different stuff. YouTube plebs. No, not plebs. We don't insult the YouTubers. Although I will say, there's definitely a different culture on YouTube. Like, Twitch has its own vibe, and Twitch chatters are their own brand of people, and then YouTube are their own brand. Like, you do definitely get a different because like Twitch has built sort of like a culture of how chatters interact with streamers, right? Like, just because of the sheer number of streams, you can stream hop from one to the other. If somebody makes like an inside joke or a meme or an emote, it can carry from stream to stream, and pretty soon it's all over the entire platform. But YouTube is kind of different. YouTube is very, like, you might get a person who's never seen a live stream in their life, and suddenly there's a chat box in their face and they can chat with a random person anywhere in the world. And they're like, all bets are off in that. Like, YouTube is the Wild West, I feel like, when it comes to chatter and streamer interaction. It's anything. it can get, yeah. I feel like I probably have had, you know, 1/100,000th of the messages on, you know, YouTube as I have on Twitch, because obviously just way more people are on Twitch and way more people chat on, or no, sorry, more people chat in my stream on Twitch, right? And more people watch my stream on Twitch. But I still, the most like wild things have probably still been on YouTube, because like there just isn't that like one of the big advices right on Twitch chat is like read the room, basically, is the advice, which is like see what other chatters are doing, and kind of, you know, like don't fight for attention in the comments, and, you know, try to keep the chat on topic. That's not a thing. Reading the room is on YouTube. I mean, right, today it has been. Today has been very chill, right? Everybody on YouTube's very nice and awesome. So if you're on YouTube and watching, thank you for being here. But by and large, YouTube doesn't have, you know, quote unquote, read the room as like an unwritten rule. It is just people popping in will say whatever they want. Or paint the room if you're an artist. Yes, paint the room. Yeah, no, I think chat to streamer interaction is fascinating. A lot of things are fascinating. That's why I like streaming and painting. Also, what am I doing? I'm making this a nighttime scene. I'm just darkening the sky. There. Glowy rivers. I like that. It's kind of fun, actually. Okay. Another image. We could pick one of these to work on. Although I don't really like this one. Maybe we'll do one more. YJan, do you do any art? And this is Hale on YouTube. Do you do any art? And if you guys do art, since you're here, and if you want to share anything, I'd love to see. Although I actually don't know how sharing links works on YouTube. I suppose I could probably find a way to see it. I actually don't know how YouTube links work. I think YouTube tries to automatically block all links, but I think I can still technically see it if I go to YouTube. But I think you'd have to tell me you sent a link, otherwise I won't see it, because I'm not viewing it through Twitch chat. I'm viewing it through a streamer bot that combines chats. Let's do a higher horizon line today. Let's move this up. And then we'll do like a... like this. So very extreme perspective here. So like a field. Whenever I do this extreme perspective, I like to think of it as like a field. Flowers or something. It could also be like the tops of people's heads, or if you want to do like a crowd scene, you could do a bunch of people. You do art, especially more contemporary stuff. I don't really share my visual art online. My main thing is making music. Oh, nice! But I do love supporting artists. That's awesome. Yeah, hopefully I wasn't insulting anyone with me talking about my lack of understanding of some of the, like... I don't know if you'd call it contemporary art, but like... what I just... yeah, like fine art stuff. I don't know. Some of it I don't really understand, but I was talking about my lack of knowledge and around it. But yeah, hopefully I didn't insult anyone or belittle the thing they do. I don't know if that's the kind of work you do, but yeah. Because I was rambling earlier about I don't understand either. I just do what I think looks good. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think there's definitely like a... I mean, obviously art's huge, right? There's so many like niches and topics and like I think 99% of people, right? You get into art and fine art included, right? Because you like it. You like making art, you like looking at art, and so you might make the stuff you like and that you look. But I guess in some ways when I'm talking about fine art, I'm not really talking about just like the random person who does fine art like you or me, right? I guess I'd be talking about like the fine art as a profession, right? Like the people, and not even like the this would look good on my wall kind of art, right? Like I feel like once the like gosh, it's tough because like some fine art's clearly about aesthetic, right? Like it still looks great. It has a vibe. It's just like I can understand it. But then there's the art that I don't understand, where like the goal isn't to look like anything. The goal isn't to make you feel anything in particular. Maybe you have a feeling about it, but it's like sometimes it's just to make a statement and a loud statement, and that's it. And like I don't get that art. It feels like just like random person in the street shouting, and it's like yes, it draws attention, but is that good? Like attention for its I don't know. That's the stuff I don't understand. Where like the goal isn't to I mean, I guess this exists not in I mean, you probably know more about this than I do, right? Because this doesn't just exist in like visual art. This exists in like music too, right? Like um artists who do like very wasn't there isn't it like Yoko Ono who just does like it's like artistic vocals. I don't know what you call it, right? Is that who does that? Like I don't do people listen to that and like this is and say like this is good. Is that the person I'm thinking of? And people are like, "Oh, that's good music." Like they don't listen to it because it's pleasing to listen to, right? It's like intentionally meant to be it's like auditory artistic expression, right? And like I don't know who the audience is. It's clearly not me, and maybe I'm not thinking of the right person. But sometimes I'm like I don't understand, and that's okay. I don't need to understand it all. Well, it's still art. It's just like I don't know. I mean, yeah, gosh, I could ramble about just like who cares if something is or isn't art. I consider pretty much anything art. I don't. I'm not a I'm not gonna gatekeep the term art. If you want to, if you have a child or a niece or nephew, and a 4-year-old niece doing finger painting is art, as far as I'm concerned, and I don't need to hold it into high esteem. It's we all did it as we all painted as a kid, and we all scribbled on paper. It doesn't mean it's good. Good for them. Like it's cool. It can be celebrated in the sense that like I'm happy people are happy. Like I'm glad that people enjoy the things they do, and you can celebrate human creation. But like that specific, random scribble on a paper that a 4-year-old did, I don't need to care about it. I'm not gonna. You know, yeah. Anyway, so that's my take on that. And I mean, in some degree, I think that's just my take on art, right? Like, I don't know. If you like it, you like it. Um, and like, I think the artist should like what they make, right? Mostly, I say should, but who am I to say what you should do? But generally speaking, I think the artist should hopefully get something out of them making art, because I think if you rely on others for it, it gets really, what do you call it? It gets like a really toxic relationship when you rely on other people liking your stuff for validation or for like for you to get fulfillment, because I think I have no obligation to you to like your stuff. And so the only person that like you should be able to enjoy your stuff regardless of whether I like it, right? And or regardless of whether the internet at large likes it. And so that's always like a tricky one, because on one hand, I think we're all doing art. I mean, you know, the reason we post online is so other people can see it. Suhail says, your landscapes are just very inspiring, man. Sorry to breathe same air as you. What? Well, thank you for the kind words. I mean, I'm just painting stuff. You too can paint and learn to paint if you don't already paint. And yeah. I am doing nothing special, in my opinion. I spent most of the stream talking about art as communication, and I think just like learning a language, right? Where some people are fluent in multiple languages, and you're like, wow, you're so skilled, right? How do you know 3 languages? It's like, well, you probably grew up around people who spoke that language. Or you studied really hard later in life, and you learned that language, and then you immersed yourself in that language, and over time, by doing it enough, you become fluent. And I think art's the same, right? If you want to learn how to depict 3-dimensional space or communicate ideas or emotions or whatever it is you want to communicate, you can learn the language. And it's not easy, right? I mean, it's simple, right? It's not easy. It's hard and it takes a lot of time and work. But anyone can learn how to communicate with pictures and color and shapes or writing, right? Anyone can learn to write well. You just have to like care enough to do it, or hopefully enjoy it enough to stick to it. You know? So I think anyone can paint or learn to paint. Everybody starts out not knowing how to speak a language or how to paint or do art. Like everybody starts out struggling with it. It's not easy, but it's, you know, it's not a mystery of how you get there, you know? So that's kind of my thing. I'm a big advocate of that when it comes to art. You know, I think at least the kind of art that I do, a lot of it comes down to learning, you know, obviously there's like perspective, there's form, there's that, all the fundamentals. But then there's also just like a lot of realistic, nature-y things, right? Like kind of like I'm adding this like bluish color in here, and if you've ever looked at like leaves, in you know, you see them reflect the sky, and so if the sky is blue, you're gonna reflect that blue, so you're gonna get a lot of this bluish, grayish color reflecting down. And it might seem like, oh, how do you choose random colors to put in your scene, right? Well, they're not random, and I'm choosing them based on things that I'm aware of that you may not be aware of. But like again, it's just a thing where you like the more you learn, the more you know, you know? The more you learn, the more you know, you know? Yeah, that was a sentence. Also, I have this little strip of orange back here, which is kind of interesting. I don't even know why it was there. Let's put more orange. Anyway, here's some flowers. Every child is an artist, says YJan. The problem is how remain an artist once they grow up. Picasso? I don't agree with Picasso. I don't think you stop being an artist. I mean, maybe. Maybe I don't disagree with Picasso there. I mean, that's reasonable. That's a fine take. I mean, I don't think it's a problem of how to remain artists. I think also we redefine what being an artist is. I think that's probably the bigger one for me. Is like, I think we would call a kid who loves finger painting. I don't know why I always use finger painting. Like, is that a thing? I don't know, just scribbling, right? Every kid likes to scribble. Every kid likes to make art. Yet you wouldn't let yourself scribble on a page, and like you would feel bad, right? It's more of just like letting yourself, or it's like you redefined being an artist to being something exemplary. Is that the right word? And I don't think it is. I think it's just, it's making stuff. It doesn't matter if you're good at it. Kids suck at it. They're awful. They're the worst artists ever in the sense of like the product they're making, right? If you think of very results oriented, their results are terrible. And yet we all acknowledge that they are artists, and we all acknowledge that they like to make stuff, and yet for some reason we don't let ourselves do that. We don't let ourselves make terrible art. We, for whatever reason, as we grow up, we redefine it to be something more, right? We put art on this pedestal and we're like, I'm not that. Well, yeah, you're not. Most people aren't. Most people, and you never start there. You always start at the bottom, right? You start as like the kid scribbling. So yeah, I think it's I feel like we always like to read it, you know, our ideas of things change and warp, and I think especially with artists, I feel like art is a bad term. I think so too. I think it's a stupid term. It's just making stuff. Just make stuff. Doesn't have to be good stuff. Just any stuff. Did you make it? It great. Did you enjoy it? Even better. If you made it and you enjoy it, that's the thing a lot of people call art. That anyway, to me, I think if you made it, great. And obviously, you know, just because you made it doesn't mean I need to like it. You know, that's the thing we were talking about earlier. But yeah, for whatever reason, people have this like we take this term that we can't define, and then over our life we define it to be the most unobtainable, like high achieving thing ever, and we still can't quite define it, but we just have like we've put it on this pedestal and we're like, I'm not an artist. I can't ever be what that person is. It's like, I don't know, it's one of those like you tell yourself that you know it when you see it, and yet you've never bothered to actually realize like you don't know it when you see it because you're dismissing all this other stuff that probably is also it because it's not fitting your new definition. I don't know. It definitely is it's a weird thing for sure. I think more people need to allow themselves to just like bust out a piece of paper and scribble and make stuff. And then if you want to throw it away at the end of your 20-minute sketching session, do it. Throw it away. Who cares? Just have fun. Have fun drawing things. Have fun making silly faces. Draw goofy things on the page. You know? We need more of that. Because that's how you get good at making stuff also, right? It's just by starting. Dang, we have a couple people chatting on YouTube. Santa Fanta, thank you for the kind words. Okay, let's start a new sketch. New sketchy sketch. We have a lot of blue. Let's not use blue. No blue allowed in this next painting. No blue allowed. We're gonna use some reds, some greens. Green and red. That's a good combo, right? People talk about complementary colors. If no blue allowed, let's use like a gray yellow or a white for the sky. And maybe oranges. And maybe for this one, we just did a very natural landscape. Actually, you know what? I'm tempted to just do like a color dodge across this. To do like light, but maybe not. Maybe we'll do trees. Let's paint some trees. We don't have any trees in today. Let's paint big graphic shapes. We'll do that. But yeah, hope everyone's doing well. Hope the days are going good. It's a Monday, so I don't know if people are working today or what's going on. I assume people are working. Back to work on Mondays. It's pretty standard. But I guess that's not... I mean, I don't work on Mondays, so what am I... I guess I technically am working in a way, but not really. Streaming doesn't count. Yeah, these are kind of tree shapes. Maybe we have like a bunch of trees, but then we have like a cliff and then a bunch more trees. So like, okay, that doesn't look at all what I just said. Hold on, I kind of have an idea. So like, the trees will be here. But then maybe there's like again, I like paths. Paths are just super easy and nice to do in environments. So like that. Then this down here will be more trees. Sometimes though, because I do paths from foreground to background so often, I end up... Sometimes I make things look kind of samey. But I guess that's kind of, you know, isn't that what people call style? I don't know. Style just means painting the same stuff over and over. No, that's not what style. Also, I like this. I like that this is creating like a little focal point here. It's kind of fun. Maybe we'll put like something back there. So yeah, we have this scene. It goes from foreground to midground. Let's add some light. So this scene, because it's like trees, right? And trees typically have leaves. Not always, but sometimes they have leaves. And these trees will have leaves. You've seen this scene before? Yeah, pretty much. But let's do dappled light. Yeah, I definitely paint samey stuff time to time. Now, I might do it with different colors, right? And that's the you know, like I'm saying no blue allowed. You know, or did I do dappled lighting last time? I don't know. But I'm sure I've painted a similar scene before. But hopefully, and this is where I think iterative design, you know, iteration works, comes into play, where like, you know, it may look similar in the initial stages, but by the time I'm done, hopefully I've made choices that have pushed it in a direction that's a little different. Oh, is that Ravel I'm hearing? It is. Maurice Ravel. I didn't know that until you asked, but it is... When I look at the Spotify, that is in fact who that is. So good job to you for knowing that. It's honestly kind of quiet. It is a... You thinking about this one? Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, it's similar to that. This is the one... Apparently what I'm painting is this one also. Let me just close this, because that is not something I want to leak. Random address leaking. Okay, there we go. So yeah, that image apparently is similar to the... Oh, not to that. That's my background. To that. Which, yeah, I can see it. I can see the similarity. The way path leads up the tree, yeah. I listen to him every time I draw. He's my muse. I am not... how do I word this? I am not a person who cares what I listen to when I draw, really. I just prefer not to have words, because words make me listen to the lyrics, and then suddenly I'm distracted. And so I just want music. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be classical. Just... In fact, I don't even need to listen to music at all. But especially when I stream. When I stream, I don't want I don't want words because I'm like I'm already trying to read chat, you know? But yeah, no, it is similar the way the path leads up the tree. In fact, it's funny that now that you think that, let me go back. Yeah, it is similar. Now, it's funny because there's things in that image, right? There's things in this image that I don't love. I don't like the lack of mid-ground, right? There's a foreground, there's kind of a mid-ground, but then there's like, no, I don't know. It kind of just drops off. And so that's something that I could try to do here. I could try to fix that. But we'll see. We'll see how that works. I'm tempted to just put... I mean, I know the other scene I also put like a glow dodge in, but I'm tempted to do like a light orange. Kind of, you know, almost a little magical. Like we're tromping through the forest, and there's some magic, you know, blossoms and stuff in the side. You know, just like there's gonna be some glowing flowers, big like rosebud type things. That's what these red things are gonna be. It's like flowers. And actually, let's play around with that weird brush we had. I don't know if it's going to look good. But this brush, it has like some jitter to it. See, it has like this texture, which is kind of weird. I'm thinking we can play around with like big... Oh, I don't know why I did that. Big expressive shapes, right? And so we'll get some variation in here. It'll be a little scribbly. It's especially good for like, I mean, it might not be good. I don't know if it's actually good for this. But, you know, some of these shapes here. Add some variation in color. Or like it might emulate like a bark material with like texture and yeah, woody structures. Like a big old log or something through here. I don't know. You could maybe put a log. I feel like this whole thing could be a log. And maybe another log here. I don't know. This is making me think of like some sort of overgrown, tangled wood kind of thing. With like... Probably has thorns. A lot of brambly stuff. But also it's kind of nice, right? It's kind of like a... You know, don't get poked by all the flowers and dangerous stuff. You know, don't eat any of the mushrooms. But it'll be good. It'll be a good little time. Probably. I don't know. Maybe? I'm kind of trying to add some, like, some brighter light up here. Kind of, you know, emulate, like, light. Dappled light a little bit, but sort of a Pretty landscape as always. Pavik, how's it going? Thank you. Yeah, it's very, very, very loose today. Playing with some shapes. Love the shapes, thanks. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it very, very loose. Maybe we can go back into this and go a little bit more green. No, I don't want to go too green. I want to stay like a muted yellow. It's funny, like this kind of looks like green, right? And yet if you look at the actual color on the canvas, it's like basically a gray yellow. Surprisingly little green in this painting. Yeah, that's kind of a thing. Some shapes going that way. Maybe this could be a little more dark. Maybe not. But yeah, hope you're doing well, Pavik. Hope everyone's doing well. I think this shape doesn't need to be here. Maybe there's a little, like, knots here on the tree. Sort of little, you know, little shapes kind of poking out. Just little things that can make you feel like the... Add some form, so like the underside here. Or let's see, the top side maybe? Maybe the underside doesn't have much. You know, like an old log here. Maybe a little bit of light up here as well. I don't know if that's gonna work. Maybe not light, I don't know. Maybe a little bit of a stump here. Doing well, planning a trip to the person I met online half a year ago. Internet is the best. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I hope it's fun, and I hope you guys have a good time. Yeah, that's fun. A couple of years ago, I met a person online that we met, or that met online, then met in real life. It's cool. It's always neat when you, yeah. I mean, I think making friendships online is like a normal thing nowadays. You know, I mean, pretty much all my friends are online now. And even the friends that I know in real life, I pretty much don't see in real life, and I pretty much just see them online. So, like, it's almost no different between just, like, even my real life friends and my online friends. Do you think you will keep streaming for a couple years or so get tired of it soon? I mean, I've been streaming for quite a few years already, so I don't see. I don't think I'll get tired of streaming. I don't think if I ever quit streaming, it won't be because I'm tired of it, I don't think. I mean, again, obviously I have no idea because, like, who am I to say what I will enjoy or if I'll be tired of it? But I suspect I won't quit because I'm tired. I suspect I will quit because of, like, you know, other life obligations, big, if I get a big fancy paying job and I'm just so busy that I have to start canceling streams and, my, I have if I have like a good group of a social circle or, a good group of people I communicate with regularly and I have a bunch of work and job obligations and I have family stuff, like whatever, if I have all the kind of stuff sort of like other obligations, I could see stream kind of taking a back seat. It would be kind of a shame because I like streaming, so hopefully I will keep doing it for years to come. But it's very time intensive, right? It takes a lot of time, especially if you try to grow your stream, because then you have to be consistent. And it's huge a time investment, but I like it. I mean, it's a hobby for sure, right? It's like anything where you sink a lot of time into it, you do it because you enjoy it. Do I think I will ever, get tired of playing video games? Probably not. But there might be, years of my life where I play significantly fewer video games because of work obligations or, whatever. And so, it's similar to that, I think. So I think the answer is probably won't quit because I'm bored. I don't have any plans to quit. I like it. But it is a big investment in time. Anyway, I like this little scene. It's kind of nice. Adding little bits of variation here and there. Taking some of these brighter spots in here and adding them into here very, very loosely. Basically pixely, because this is basically a pixel, and then I'm adding the light. But yeah, I like this one a lot. And it all started because I said no blue. These need to be a little more loose. But yeah, I don't really have any plans to stop streaming. I guess another reason that I could, maybe it's similar to the same reason I just gave, but, in my head it's a little different. Because I guess I was thinking of it from, like, the perspective of my life getting better. But you could also imagine, like, cost of living goes up and I have to, work more at my day job to, like, sustain myself, and suddenly I have to start canceling streams because I can't stream on days that I work because I'm too tired, and so suddenly I'm just working more, I'm working, like, way more than I want to be, and I can't make the time to stream because I want to prioritize other things, right? I wouldn't want to work 40 hours at a job and stream for 20 and still feel like I can't make ends meet. Like, that would be exhausting, right? So I'd rather, like, reduce my time streaming so that I can feel like I have some sort of, downtime. Because streaming takes energy, but it's also fun. It's a fun energy, but it's, if I don't have that energy to put towards streaming, then it's not gonna, I don't want to feel like I'm getting drained little by little. So I guess financial reasons could be a reason I quit streaming. But right now I can make ends meet, so I'm happy to stream. Okay, anyway, this is a fun little painting. A little grove of trees. Do we do one more? One more thumbnail, and then we'll maybe maybe we'll pick... Okay, this one's out. I'm not doing this one. Maybe we do one more, and then next stream we take one of these and we work on it till the end of stream. And so we sort of... This will be our sketches, and the next stream will be our rendering of a sketch. Some natural environments. I think if I do stuff like this, though, I'd like to do... I feel like adding little critters or, you know, things that are magical of sorts. Like big knots in the trees. But yeah, I think that one's not bad. Let's do another one. We did a blue one, couple blues, couple greens. We still don't really have... I mean, I guess green is in all of them, pretty much. Maybe we do... yellow. Oh, that's a... Oh, that's why the brush was weird. I knew something was weird. I was using a brush I don't normally use. Okay, that's fine. I couldn't even tell because I was painting so small. So maybe we do some yellowy colors or orangey colors. Orange and red, maybe? Could do something like that. But now what do we want to paint? The scale is always important. Sorry, I'm getting yawny. What about blue-white architecture? So like white stuff and shadow. If that makes sense. Like, for example, if we had a wall. Right, the wall might be... like that color. And then if it was in the sun, right, we would have like that or something. I don't know. It doesn't have to be pure white, but, you know, we have like some sort of scene like that. Now, it doesn't have to be a wall. It could be like rocks. White rocks. Could be lots of things. Sometimes but I do like to start with just random color palettes like this, but also thinking about materials can be nice to think about color palettes. Because like obviously if I just start putting a ton of white, it might start looking like snow or something. Oh, sorry, I'm getting so tired. But yeah, I think this bluish color definitely feels like a stone. But now the question is, what do we do with it? How, compositionally, right? I want to play around with big shapes. I do like this reddish, greenish, yellow color. I'm trying to think of like naturalistic environments that kind of have that, like a rocky soil, you know, could be like some sort of clay or something that's kind of brownish, and maybe there's like these stones at the bottom, or maybe you have, you know, this white material, whatever it is. And then you have, it could also be a built environment. I mean, I always think of like built bridges. Which I don't know if that's ideal for this, but we could try. It's kind of my go-to for this stone for some reason. But like maybe it's old columns. Like this kind of makes it look like a column. Gosh, why is it so... I guess I low pixels here. So I'm kind of painting with pixel brushes, but you know, this kind of makes it look like built structures and stuff. Some old stone structures, like the ruins of an old city. Right? This could be stuff like that. I like that. For color-wise, it's pretty good, I feel like. Now, what's this? Do we put more just like the dirt over here? Dirt and green. Maybe some green. I know I said not a lot of green in here, but I have some overgrown. What all this could just be like... Now this, the blue sky is the yellow sky is very weird. I think I've got to gray it up. That gray can help hopefully imply a little bit of blue, because when you have gray against yellow, right, it can start to like become bluish. I don't know if this jitter brush is gonna work though. I might need to do like a just regular brush and then do like an actual little bit of blue in here. I don't know. I don't want it like a lot of blue because I think keeping it kind of grayish is good. This is a very interesting color palette, if I do say so myself. Now I'm basically doing almost like a high-key painting. Not really, but I'm kind of sort of putting a lot of this green in here, just like as sort of occluded areas. So like, yes, there's green, but it's, you know, these dark shapes are just kind of the nooks and crannies between the shapes. They're not really the objects themselves. Or just drawing some lines and some dark shapes underneath the things. Sort of not really outlining, but like if this is this is a cylinder here, I guess I could probably do a little bit more like white outlining. But like if this is a cylinder, right, and this is the shape here, then like under here, right, we're gonna have that shadow. So I'm just kind of adding a little bit of darker color along the edges. Again, not really outlining, but a little bit. Sort of implying that these things have an underside. that is in shadow. I kind of like the idea of having like little stairs over here. Whatever this spot is. This thing could be a big mountain, so maybe we put more trees or more. I don't know, something like that. Maybe some of this grass is growing between here also, so maybe we have like cracks in here that are growing with foliage. And again, kind of getting some of these darker colors in here. But more just like as dots, right? I'm literally putting dots just to like... I don't want the like, I'm not trying to draw like, here's a dark... I mean, I could do that, right? But the grass is going to be a little lighter, I think. And the dark is just the occluded area. Also, is my stream still running? I think it is. I just think nobody's chatting, which is fine. But I hope everyone who's lurking is doing well today. And again, as always, if anyone wants to share what they've been working on, I'd love to see. Oh, yep. Okay, stream's still working. Yeah, carry on lurking. I don't mean to call people out of lurk. I like this painting, by the way. I know it's weird. It feels weird to compliment my own paintings, but I like where this is going. Okay, never mind then. No, I mean, I was curious if it was still running. I assumed it was, but I know people weren't talking, so I was just curious. But yeah, thanks for being here. Engagement, right? I don't know. I don't think Twitch cares about that because I don't think it does anything for the stream to have people say something in chat, but if it did, I think it does on YouTube. I think if people are chatting, it actively boosts the stream, which, again, I don't care about boosting the stream on YouTube, but I think it's a metric that YouTube cares about, which is weird, but, you know, whatever. But yeah, I like this scene. This one's like an old, like, ruins, kind of, and it's kind of fun. What if I put some bright stuff in the distance, too? I have a rule for myself, which is a rule that I break in like every other painting, but it's still a rule that I have for myself. And the rule is variety. No, that's not the real rule. But I mean, it basically is. But the real rule is that if I have like a material, and again, I broke the rule in every painting today, right? Every one of these, except this one. This one I did not break the rule. But this one I broke the rule. This one I broke the rule. This one I broke the rule. The rule, and this one I broke the rule. But this one gets a pass because the theme itself needs to break the rule. But the rule is that if I have a material, say grass or stone or marble or a flower, that I put the flower or the grass or the stone or whatever kind of stone it is. If it's two different kinds of stone, that counts as two different materials, right? Whatever material I have, I put it in both light and in shadow, right? And if I'm mostly doing something like showing one material as a silhouette, say light against dark, then I also show it dark against light. Basically, you're just using like you know, so these, for example, might be fully in light back here. Right, and then these are in shadow, and then this bright green or this bright yellow and green is going to be in the light, and so I have it in the light, and then these are in the shadow. And basically, it's just a way to make sure that I have a variety of colors and materials you know, I could put little, like, a highlight in here where, like, the light falls in if I wanted. You know, if I want to do something like this and put a little dash of light coming in, I could do something like that too. To help show that material. I don't think I want to do that though. But yeah, anyway, it's just a way to like add interest, show different materials, and that way you don't get stuck rendering the same thing in the same way. Like a lot of times when you paint, and I think it's a good way to start if you're a complete beginner to environments. And for those, you know, I feel like we need a redeem or something for this, but basically a lot of the way that I recommend starting is that, like, you know, if you've never painted a forest before, you could do like a foggy forest, or if you never painted an environment before, right, like a foggy forest. So you make like a little gradient from light to dark, right? Dark being the foreground, light being the background, and basically you make a gradient, right? So the lightest stuff is back in the distance, and then as you get forward, right, these are like, you know, you just pull up basically. If you want to make a midground tree, you take that midground color and just paint directly over everything else, right? Maybe make it, scale it up to make it a little bigger, right? It's very it's very simple, right? You just layer things over the top. Same in the foreground if you want like plants or trees or something, or like a funky trunk that sticks up. You can do that, you know, a little mushroom on the tree, make it out of dark because it's in the foreground. Same thing in the back, in the midground, you want a rock here, put the rock there. Want mushroom on the rock, put the mushroom on the rock, right? Same thing in the very distance. You want random trees, put trees. You know, but make them in scale. Anyway, so that's like the foggy forest, and it's a good way to paint. It works, but the problem with that is that because you don't have lighting, right, you also don't have things like bright spots in the middle, or you don't have a tree that is brighter than the rest in the foreground. Like if you do that, it's going to look funny, right? You can't just put this here. It's going to look like there's a hole in this tree or something, right? If I put that there, there's like a hole. But once you start introducing, say, direct sunlight, and I still think this is the way to start, the sunlight, then you could do things like, you know, plants in the foreground, or if you wanted a little tree in the midground, right? At some point, you could probably get away with doing like especially if you had like a darker tree here to silhouette it, or maybe a tree here, and this was going to be like the light on the tree, right? Then you can start showing materials and things in a different way, because you've sort of laid the groundwork to break that structure. And so I think that this lighting thing, I would avoid that if you were totally new. Like I would avoid the adding the light at first if you're completely new. I would just focus on the light to dark, because that's kind of like that's like an ambiently lit foggy day, right? It's just sort of like you know, your normal overcast day. And a lot of the paintings that I do that, right? Like I'm literally just making shapes that are dark against light with a light background, right? This one is that way. I literally just have dark shapes in the foreground, right? Wow, that's a trick. It is a trick. I mean, it's not really a trick. It's more of just like a structure. I mean, in some ways, it's the same. This is the same thing, right? Same structure here, right? Light background, dark foreground. So my darkest darks are up here. Then I have a midground, right? This is a different color, but it's the same value pretty much, right? It's the same thing. Now, I obviously put the light in the foreground, right? I put like a bright light here and a bright light here. Adding that lighted area feels like a trick that just elevated complexity. It does. Like, that's why I think adding lighting to your painting... Like, these paintings, this doesn't have lighting. None of these have lighting. But adding a little bit of lighting does go a long way. Oh, you meant like this lighting when I did that thing? Yeah, it does. It totally it elevates it. But I think if you're just starting though, it can get a lot because now you're dealing with multiple light sources. You're dealing with this is like where warm and cool comes in, right? Because you have the warm lit ambient light. Right before I did that, oh, hold on. Let's undo this again. Right before I added this light, you could think of this as a cool lit scene, right? Everything is lit by the sky. There is no light source. There is no sun, right? Not really. I mean, the sky is the light source, right? This is adding the warmth. Obviously, in this case, it's black and white, so there is no warm and cool, but this is adding warmth to the scene, right? Like, that's what that is. It's just adding... That's the sunlight. It's going to be warmer than the cool stuff. So, yeah. I think it definitely elevates the mood and lighting. But I always forget. I always forget to do that, especially depending on what I'm doing with colors. It's easy to not do that. Like this scene, for example. No light. I mean, there is a light, right? It's... The light... In this case, the light is artificial, right? The light is this yellow. So, in this case, I kind of am not breaking the rule. But, like, in this one, I am, probably. In this one, I am. This is why, I think in this one I said it would look good if I did a color dodge, but I didn't want to totally change the vibe. If I just added a color dodge in here, I could have just, like, added something like that, right? It's like making a little bit of a... I don't know. I'm pretty sure this would have looked okay. In fact, it does look okay. It looks pretty good. But I felt that was going to be cheating because I didn't plan for it. And I don't like completely changing a painting. I want to get better at, like... But yeah, something like that. You know, it adds that warm and cool contrast that everyone talks about. Color dodge is so good. You're a wizard, Harry. Color dodge is a wizard. Lighting is a wizard. Anyway, I like this. I like that lighting. Although this feels a little artificial. I mean, it is. Literally color dodge. It's like magic. It's actually cheating. No. I feel like color dodge is... It does so much of that lifting for you, you know? That heavy lifting. No, not really, because if you don't use it right, though, then it doesn't look good, right? Like, I am making choices in my painting that I know is going to work with it, but I'm not going to add it in every scene. Like, I think if I just color dodge this one, it would look garbage, because it's not set up to use color dodge. Like, this, you know, there's a tendency to, like, oh, I could just make it better, but, like, I don't think I can. If I just do what I normally do, it's going to be, like, I don't think in this one it's going to ever be better, because it's going to blow out all the lights, right? Like, it'll never have the interesting, like, unless I did it specifically as, like, as the light as the focal point, so, like, as the river, which I already tried earlier in this scene, or in the windows, maybe, to, like, you know, key focal points. But, like, by and large, it's not really going to make that one that much better, in my opinion. Yeah, it's definitely, you gotta know how to use it. And sometimes that means setting up your painting in a way that can use it, because I don't think it can always use it. But yeah. The beauty of digital. Definitely makes some things easier. But yeah, I think these are fun. I think we could probably vote on it and then work on one next stream. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well today. But yeah, I think these are all good enough to work on. This one has some funny shapes that I don't really like. When I step, like the colors are super cool, but when I look at it from a composition point of view, it doesn't land with me the same way that some of the others do. Which is a shame, because I think I like the colors better. In fact, I do like them better. I like them a lot. Kind of redesign some shapes here. But yeah, I think this one, I think it's my favorite, probably. This one maybe is my second favorite. This might be my favorite. I definitely think it falls between those two, which I should probably... Here, let's do this. Let's clean these up a little bit. I'm cleaning them up in a very peculiar way because I want to do something. I like having a messy, like I like having them break the border, but I think just showing the corners, I think is a good way to show that they're in squares. So that way, maybe, if I do this well, I can remove the squares. Mostly. Okay, let's try it. Does that kind of work? Not really. Probably be better if I just removed them all together, like this. I was trying to make it look kind of like I removed the tape from a painting. I think we'll do these, Do I flip them? I think I flip them, because this is the coolest one. We gotta start strong. Isn't that the advice when you show, like, a portfolio? You show your strongest one first, and then you also end with, like, your strongest one, or, like, your second strongest. You got, it's the anchoring, or whatever you call it. Not anchoring, but, like, I don't know what you call it. But you start strong and end strong. Because that's where you remember the most. Like, in a list of 10 objects, you're most likely to remember the firsts and the lasts. You don't remember the middle ones. But ideally in a portfolio, you wouldn't put your weak ones in there. Like, this wouldn't be... This isn't a portfolio, but these, you know, you wouldn't put that in there. Maybe not this one. Maybe not this one. You'd just have those other three, because they look good. But anyway, there's that. That's today's work. I'm happy with today's paintings. Number 4, not so much. I mean, the idea is cool, but the execution is pretty mediocre, I think. But yeah, I think that's a good spot to end. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I appreciate it. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. I think I'm gonna end stream. You like 4? No, I'm glad. I'm glad you like 4, Druff. You're the only one. No, I'm sure somebody out there likes number 4. Yeah, I think the idea is cool. I think the building, the architecture, it was definitely a harder one to pull off because all these are very natural, and this one is the architecture. And so, by just the nature of the painting, it makes this one more difficult. And yeah, I think I kind of dropped the ball. I think I was trying to also be ambitious with the colors. And so I ended up doing, like, the lighting is pretty mediocre. And that happens a lot, right? Like this one as well. You know, we kind of... I think sometimes when I have an idea in mind, it's harder to explore and actually just make it a good painting. So I'm so focused on getting the basics down, or like the idea, that I forget about all the other stuff that I'm trying to juggle. I think this one's my favorite. It feels like to me it feels like a ruined environment. It feels like I'm walking through like a little area. And I don't know, maybe I'll feel differently next time I see it. Anyway, we'll vote on it next time. But for now, if you want to if you want to vote on this next time and be the decider, the deciding factor on which painting I work on, just show up next stream on Monday. Or no, today is Monday. Thursday. Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Or if you're in Europe, it's 8 p.m. If you're in, like, Paris time, I guess. So yeah, anyway. I think that's it. I guess my outro is I stream 3 days a week. Thursday's my next stream, and Thursday, Saturday, and Mondays. What else? I have a Patreon. If you want to support me further, you can. That's probably the best way to do that. I've been working on this little personal project, and I will try to put some updates there, which I put one update, but that was just the first one. Basically, where as I paint environments, this one included. So, if we end up working on this environment, it will probably make its way to the world map. Yeah, exactly. 8 p.m. CET. Yep. So yeah, all the environments I'm making make their way to the world map, and I sort of have a lore that explains stuff, kind of, sort of. Obviously not all of them, but like this one for sure. There's sort of like it's explanation of like how the thing works, and because I'm trying to make it fantasy, but I'm also trying to make it kind of fit together. So as I build out the world, it sort of works. At least, kind of. I don't know. It's fun. But yeah. Thanks for hanging out. That's it. Goodbye. Goodbye.